the Insiders, and man, are we excited to be here today.
It's a party, baby!
Happy Halloween. It is the night when the Sith take over the entire world. You will all serve us. Good evening to you all, and welcome to the Insiders Halloween special episode. I may not be your father, but I am old enough to be. Welcome to Headless Tazzy to my right, and we have Jason, Jeff to the bottom. Hello, everyone. We hope you have had a happy Halloween and got much candy. The Emperor does not allow me to have candy, and I could not eat it even if I got it because of this. Welcome to you all, and we hope that you will enjoy tonight's show. Jeff, are we ready to scare some people this evening? I will take that as a yes. Headless Tazzy, how are we doing this evening?
Power Rangers, I need you to say, it's a party, baby!
It is a party, yes, it is. It is the Emperor will allow me the party tonight. So, welcome to our show, and we are here to talk all about scary Halloween horror stuff in wrestling, and then we will do what we had planned on doing for yesterday's show. So our news and our debates and our grievances, and we might even allow some fun at the end of the show as well. We have comments already. Why is Tazzy the only one wearing a horrific mask from C Wrestling? That is a horrible comment, Tazzy. You must comment back. That gets one lightsaber from me. It's a one lightsaber line. Let us welcome some people in. Well, let's see who we have here tonight with us. Welcome and thank you for joining us on Halloween. We hope you had a great holiday. We have Jason Peace. We have May Wood. We have Jen Carter. We have Odin's Child. We have Tony. We have the Coog. We have Big Dan. We have Jason Peace. We have Big Dan and more Jason Peace. We have Shane Loki. We have Seven Fiend. We have Alexa Bliss Gamer 0809. We have Dalton Riley. We have Conrad from Everything Pro Wrestling. We have James Chadwick. We have Alicia P. We have, I think I may have gotten most of the people. Let me see. Lord Vader. No, good Lord. Don't use that name. It's way too long, and my name is long enough already. We have Joe Vader. Yes, that's better. We have Jason Michael. We have Dana Jones. We have C Wrestling, of course, is here. We have Deanna. We have, who else am I missing? We have Tazzy. How the hell are you in the chat? How are you in the damn chat as well? We have Erase Your Mind is here. We have Will Rally, Sport Rally. We have Alicia P. We have, who else? Graham Caldwell is here, and J.K. Blackstone. I must acknowledge Jeff Baldhead for that mask. Yes, yes. Tazzy and Jeff, you did acknowledge. Jeff had to take the mask off because it was getting too damn hot. Yes, I agree. I'm already hot too, and this isn't even a full mask. All right. So anyway, great having you guys here. I can't continue to talk like that, and I was starting to sound like Dark Helmet a little bit anyway. So this is I got this today, and I'm really glad I did. I ordered this from Target. This is if you're not old enough to remember, they were called Ben Cooper masks, costume boxes. They used to come in boxes years ago. They had like a slip cover basically that had the character on the front, and they used to come with these hard plastic pants, and they had the mask, of course. I mean, the mask looks way better now than they used to, but I was glad that I got it in today. Thank you for the compliments, wrestling. I appreciate that. If I'm Darth Vader, I mean, I've been burned to pretty much death, so that would be the fact that I would be hot. Yes. It was J.K. Blackstone. It was $20. It was the best $20 I've ever spent. They're literally adult-sized costumes, so you can wear like this. And it came with a cape, which the other one didn't. It came with those dumb pants. I'd rather the cape anyway. So yeah, they're like $20. They made the Vader and the Yoda one so far. It's from NECA, so the company that makes all the cool action figures and stuff did it. And now they're going to come out with a Marvel line, so you're going to get all the Marvel ones and stuff too. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'm wearing my Fiend shirt because Darth Vader likes the Fiend as well. Cheese Whiz is here. All right, I think I welcomed everybody in. Okay, cool. So we're glad you could join us. We moved the show, of course, from last night, so we appreciate you coming out. And a lot of you suggested that we have this tonight. So, yeah, it's cool. I didn't really think or know that a lot of people would be interested in the stream tonight because I wasn't sure what was going on with everybody for Halloween and things like that. So, yeah, so we're glad you all came out. And we're going to basically do what we do on Saturday. Of course, Tazzy joined us, so we're going to go over some news. We're going to do some things like that. But first, I believe, Jeff, we're going to probably start by talking about some horror in wrestling, right?
Absolutely. Before we get started in that, I just got to say this. I put this graphic together earlier, right? Isn't it weird how well the Fiend just blends into the rest of the
to the horror stuff? Yeah, right.
Right. He just blends into all the iconic figures of horror. So, Hollywood, we might talk about that a little bit. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I figured it'd be pretty appropriate to start off with the horror and the dark side basically of the wrestling characters, since of course this is Halloween. So you saw some of them on the beginning that Jeff put together. We saw the Boogeyman, we saw Rosemary, we saw Su Yung, we saw of course the Undertaker and Kane. I mean, this has been a big thing in wrestling for a long time, and we did have a show that we kind of talked about this. We talked about a lot of the supernatural wrestling characters and stuff like that, but we're going to revisit it tonight because it is appropriate for Halloween. It's okay. It is only, yeah, you know what? Hold on. I think I will. There we go. Woo. Yeah, it was getting a little hot. It was getting a little hot in there. Woo. Yeah, so I mean, it's only like that, but they did a pretty good job, like I said, with it. It's just a little plastic thing that's in the front, and then the mesh for the eyes. So definitely worth the $20. And I'm going to take this cape off too. There we go. All right, now we're good. So we're going to start talking about that. You guys in the chat, you guys can shout out some of your favorites, of course, on the horror side of wrestling. And who you remember. I mean, the big names, we've got to start off, I guess, guys, with The Undertaker. I mean, could be probably the biggest horror character that was ever in pro wrestling and had probably the lengthiest career, I would say, too, of any of them. So, obviously we saw his retirement match, which we'll see. We'll see if they end up keeping that, or we'll see if he does come back someday. But either way, we will see him one last time when we see him enter the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, shout out guys in the chat too. When do you remember your first moment or first time seeing The Undertaker? I do. And it was absolutely, it was a breathtaking moment. And I was even a little bit older. I mean, that was the '90s, so I was in my 20s. But even to see that for the very first time when he walked down to that ring, and he had those gray gloves and the red hair, and you never really saw anything like him. And it really did. It kind of just took my breath away. So, and I was kind of hooked ever since, and I was interested in his character for the whole time. Jeff and Tazzy, what's your memories about The Undertaker?
Well, I think I talked about this all the time. Like, The Undertaker got me into wrestling. The Undertaker got me wrestling. The first time I saw him, that's when I started. It's the Survivor Series, which, by the way, the Survivor Series is coming up. But Survivor Series was like, that match was like, wow, who's this guy? It's like, you never. I don't think you ever saw wrestlers like that before he ever came up. And it was like, wow, like, yeah. And he's been one of my top five wrestlers of all time. Well, he is my favorite wrestler, but he's in that top five anyway.
He's got to be on a lot of people's Mount Rushmores of wrestling, I would imagine. Jeff, what do you remember about The Undertaker? I mean, I don't know if people knew him when he was wrestling as Mark Calloway prior. I never got to see him beforehand, but of course we know the backstory of him. So, what were your first memories about The Undertaker?
Well, just kind of going back to that, I do remember when he wrestled as Mark Calloway.
Okay.
I remember when he wrestled as Mean Mark, and I just remember because of how the wrestling business was back then. I thought that this guy named Mean Mark just basically fell off the face of the earth, and we never would see him again. And then, years later, we put two and two together and figured out that Mean Mark Calloway was actually The Undertaker. And I mean, I just remember the first time seeing him and the big deal that commentary made about it, and the mystique and aura that he presented coming to the ring. And my goodness, I mean, just to have a character like that, it was so different. It was scary. I mean, it really was, because the guy said nothing. He looked dead. And it was like, okay, this is where we're going. And if you would have told me when he first debuted that he would have had the career that he had and the longevity, I probably wouldn't have bought into it because of how hokey some of the gimmicks were back then. But man, this thing stuck, and wow, I mean, what a career. And we got to throw some love to some Papa Shango, and
absolutely.
maybe you want to throw in Kamala, and some other folks there. And I would even throw in Abdullah the Butcher. Just maybe he wasn't as scary to some people, but a man that you could put, those dish things that you can put plates in.
Yes.
Into someone's forehead, and rest dishes in their forehead. That's a problem. So
yes. Oh my gosh. Look, and a lot of you guys are reading The Undertaker is a GOAT. Of course, Kane was Bird to his Magic Johnson. Taker changed with the times. People talking about his theme song. He deserves to have his own wing in the Hall of Fame. Taker had me shook. I remember my first event, The Undertaker versus British Bulldog, on my dad's shoulders in the arena. Got so cold. He's a personality. I mean, like Jeff said, when he first came down, his face was just white. And like Jeff said, he looked dead. I mean, he looked like a ghoul. And he came on, that was coming off of a time too when the horror films were getting away from the slasher stuff. So you were getting more of and I'll tell you who he reminded me of when I first saw him, Jeff, and I'm sure you guys will know, and a lot of you guys out there may know this too, is the tall man from Phantasm. because of how big he was. Now, obviously, the tall man was very thin and stuff like that, but that was a whole Undertaker kind of a theme anyway. He was in a mortuary, and if any of you have never seen the movie Phantasm, but that's what he reminded me of. And when I saw him coming down, the tall man had kind of long, thin hair. He was older, obviously, but really reminded me of that. And when that, I really think that changed things for wrestling going forward, because I think that they realized, and like Jeff said, you can't go into the Undertaker without paying homage to the people who came before, because there were. He mentioned Abdullah the Butcher. There were characters prior to him, but none of them, I don't think, really hit it and took off, like Jeff had mentioned. Also, you didn't really see that coming. But I think you honestly have to say that he paved the way for what we still see today. In wrestling, in almost every brand of wrestling, there are characters who are horror-themed characters, and a lot of them do very well. I mean, hence Bray. And his gimmicks, and the other ones that we're seeing today, other companies do them differently, but I mean, Malachi Black over in AEW, the characters in Impact, Decay, and even Mick Foley after he came soon after the Undertaker, it really paved the way for a lot of characters that came after him. Let's see what some of you are saying. Hey guys, hey Derek, how are you? You're a wrestling fan when you say, "Oh, Kamala and Parba." Oh, come on, Paul Bear's voice. My Undertaker. Yeah, who could forget Paul Bear? I mean, and then you gave him a manager. And at first it was, of course, Ted DiBiase brought him in, but then you gave him a manager who may have been creepier than the Undertaker was. I mean, if you remember Percy Pringle, Percy was not. I mean, Percy was a scary looking dude to begin with that mustache that he had and just the way that his hair was and things like that. So he's a scary dude anyway. And then to make him all white-faced as well, I mean, they just got that right. And God rest his soul, but he added to that as well with their urn and everything else that they just kept adding to that character. And like Jeff said, who would have thought it would have been a mainstay for so many years? I think he got the best match, and you guys can chime in on this too. I think he got the best retirement match he could have possibly had. And I know, Jeff, you had mentioned that as well with the AJ thing, when people were kind of thinking that wasn't going to be it for him. But how could you get a better match than that? Cinematic wrestling comes to pass because of COVID. And he had the ability to basically go out and make a mini movie to end his career, which you really couldn't have asked for anymore. I don't think there's any wrestlers that are out there who would have ever thought that they would end their career that way. And no one else really deserved, I don't think, to end their career that way, because his career was essentially like a movie. So you guys can chime in on that. I think that was probably the best way for him to go out.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about something that first off, it was so unique. And I feel like cinematic matches are made for characters like The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Because you can really dive deep into some stuff. But the way, I just want people to understand the way that AJ buried him at one point, and then he just pops up like, one of the 80s slashers. That was such an homage to the slasher genre of films. Oh, yeah. I thought that, I think I said this to you right after the match. I was like, that's it for him, because there's no way. I said, I don't think he'll ever top that. I think that's his last match. And just because of how well it was done. I mean, I have a feeling that we probably will see him again. I just have a really weird feeling that at some point, with all this stuff going on,
you think Vince is going to break the glass? Is that what you were saying?
I think the glass is going to be broken at some point. I hate the fact that I even feel that way, but if he never breaks the glass, that was such a way to end his career. So
it really was. Like he said, with the popping up and stuff like that, if you read back on the Undertaker's character, he now, in a lot of the biographies and stuff that he did recently, he said that he based his character off of Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers. Didn't speak much. And the way that he would pop back up off the floor was taken directly from Halloween, with the scene where Michael's behind the I think it was behind the chair. No, the scene where he's in the bedroom, and Jamie Lee Curtis is kind of standing out in the doorway, and all of a sudden you just see him just sit up like he did. So yeah, he took that right from. So obviously he was a horror fan, and let's take it there too, because you got to figure that these guys that do this are fans of the genre. They've got to be horror fans. And I know all you guys want to go into it, so we may as well go right into one Mr. Wyatt and talk about him as well. Now, again, we're not skipping over everybody. We can make an entire show about this. So you guys shout out stuff in the chat, and we'll read some of your comments about people that you remember most. But we'll go from past to present, and we'll talk about Bray. And obviously, when you see what he has done, but whether it was with the cult leader Bray Wyatt, with the group that he had, I mean, obviously based on a lot of horror stuff, whether it be Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the family there, going even back further, you can definitely see there was a lot. The Hills Have Eyes, a movie like that. So you could see where he kind of got that from. The cult leader thing, obviously, that's been in the news for ages and ages. I mean, you had guys like David Koresh, people who were just, these guys who were just charismatic, and they would get people to follow them, and some follow them to their deaths. So you see where he got that from. Of course, Cape Fear was a lot of his inspiration for that. So we talk about his mind. Obviously, he's a horror fan. I mean, you can tell he is. He pulls from it. He does things that remind you of it. And the last bit of news, guys, that we got, because everybody's waiting, but the last bit of news we got was that he had been in Burbank, and I did share. So the picture of him and Jason Baker, with the black and white picture, I actually went and I found a street picture of that and shared a colorized version of it. So that is definitely in Burbank, California. They were in front of Studio 4 in the Warner lot. So, but the news that was coming out, and this was Sean Ross Sapp who said it, was that he was offered movie deals, offered movies, and that's why he was there. So listen. Again, I know a lot of people are going to be like, no, I don't want that to happen. I want him to wrestle. I get it. Max Cady. Yeah. But I get that. But I personally, and I said this, I think when this all first happened, he's the kind of a guy that he's young enough that he can go and he can do movies and stuff like that. And I think he could break right into it. I don't see a problem for it at all. Guys, tell me, Jeff and Tazzy, what's your favorite version of Bray? And tell me where you think you guys would like to see him. Because, again, we could spend all night on Bray, too. We're going to talk a little bit about him anyway, but we may as well bring him up in the Halloween segment. So tell me what you guys, and it doesn't matter who starts first, but tell me what you guys, your favorite version of his character and where you think you would like to see him end up.
Whew. Oh man, it probably had to be the cult leader, because me knowing him from since NXT, it wasn't really too creepy, if that makes sense. It wasn't really creepy like that. It was more of a guy from New Orleans, like coming there and like, hey, I got this family and we're coming to get you guys, or whatever, right? Then he switched to the WWE side. It was like, oh, this is very different. I mean, it was like what he was in NXT, but 2.0 version of it. It's like, and you could tell the fans, even though he was supposed to be a heel, they loved it. It was like, it's incredible. It was like the gimmick was perfect, and you could go so much for. That's the one thing about Bray with him or when he do his characters. You could go far with it. Like I don't know if we can talk about this now, but there's some images out that stuff like matches and stuff that he could have did before, and it was like, oh wow, they didn't think about that, but so I have to say the cult leader because it was a setup to things that we see now with the Fiend and everything like that. So yeah, has to be cult leader.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Let's see. Bray Wyatt was a brilliant mind right up there with Heyman, Raven, and Taker. WWE fumbled worse than Sammy Smith or Rod Bernstein. I let him go this year with absolute worst shit. I need that Cult of Windham podcast. Yeah, that's really interesting to me. It seems like it's definitely happening. And again, I was saying that's a forum where Bray can just cut loose. And it looks like, there was a little bit of comments made again that snuck out somehow and derogatory comments. And he was just kind of saying that, well, you heard good old Bruce's comments and so now you're going to hear mine. So he can now do that. He can go on that and that podcast will get millions of views, especially if he ends up doing it on YouTube and it's not just an audio cast. Oh dear Lord. He will instantaneously get millions and millions of followers on that podcast. So that's what I'm saying. And C Wrestling says, Deanna says, I want both. Erase Your Mind saying the people are saying what their favorite version is. The Fiend says, Erase Your Mind. Randy Sam says the Fiend. Maybe we can add some more. Oh yeah, listen, 7 Fiend. I like I said, we can go into this all night. Boogeyman, Mordecai, Kevin Thorne. Yeah, absolutely. C says Bray Wyatt was in WWE for 12 years. I wish he was wrestling still, but the dude served his time. If he wants to do movies and not put his body through hell again, I'm all for it. I mean, listen, if he goes into the film itself, he can do stunts. Listen, he's already you and Jeff can attest to this. When you're in wrestling, you're technically a stuntman. And you're doing all that stuff anyway. So he's got experience with that. If he wants to be in films, he can, and he could put his body through just as much hell as he probably did in wrestling. Because stunt work can be rough too. But yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. James says, I'm really surprised WWE didn't decide to do a Fiend movie like they did with Kane. I think a lot of people are. Yeah, I think a lot of people are. Bruce Pritchard and Yes Man, Johnny Ace. Yeah, I like the Wyatt family. We'd love to see him back in WWE when Vince leaves and Triple H is running things. But if that does not happen, I would say Impact would free the narrative first. Jeff, what is your favorite version of Bray's, and where would you like to see him go?
Oh man, I love the Cult Leader. Yep. Absolutely love the Cult Leader. Now, I got to say this, the Fiend is 1 and 1A, and depending on the day is which one I pick. I love both equally, with the Cult Leader just kind of edging that out just a little bit. Two things, though, to speak to C's point, I don't think people truly understand the impact that wrestling has on your body. Whether you do it for 2 years, 12 years, or 2 months, wrestling leaves scars in some way, shape, or form. So if this guy gets an opportunity, much like The Rock, much like John Cena, Dave Bautista, to be in movies, he can make millions of dollars, more than he ever would have dreamed of making in the WWE, and that means he doesn't have to take another bump at all. I'm down with that because he's paid his dues in the wrestling business. He's done so many things. He changed the wrestling business in the 12 years that he was in the WWE. Like he really did. But what will be next? This is a little bit of fantasy booking for me. By the way, I'm going to say this and then I'll go into that. Windham Rotunda, if you think about it, and I made mention of this earlier, Windham Rotunda could be the next horror movie icon. Like that's the potential for this guy. He could be a Kane Hodder, a Derek Mears, some of those guys who portray the big slashers who, who have that in their bag. He could be that for the movie industry.
Nick Castle from Halloween. And the thing is, Jeff, you're right. None of them had a wrestling background.
Exactly.
None of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I would love to see Bray kind of mesh some of his characters, though. I would love to see him, because we saw this during the last Firefly Funhouse episode. He was kind of an evangelist almost.
Yeah.
But I want to see him take that, mix that in with the cult leader, and have some devilish elements to it. One of the things that Conrad brought up earlier is the movie Red State. And I don't know how many people have seen Kevin Smith's Red State. If you're a horror movie fan, go check it out. It's not your traditional slasher, cut them up kind of deal. It's more of a real world, this could really happen kind of thing. And I think that's what Bray would really bring to the table. He could bring someone like a David Koresh or a Jim Jones or someone like that and really turn it dark, like turn it on its head. Man, I would love to see him take something like that and just really run with it. And that way you have some of the supernatural elements, but it's more of a real world, what could happen if you had someone with some evil intentions.
Yeah. Like I said, I would love to see that as well. And like everybody said, listen, when you take that kind of a beating, and Bray's not a small guy, he's not a high flyer and stuff like that. He's a guy that's just going to take hits. I mean, my God, that match that he had with Daniel Bryan. Just remember that one. I mean, you just take constant hits and stuff like that. So, look, I would love to see him go into the movie business. So he says, can we take bets on how much Vince will pay out to sign Bray to a new Legends deal when he's successful in Hollywood? Simone welcomes as Windham So Talent. It's going to be interesting to see what he does next. Evangelist Bray to mock brother love Bruce Pritchard, LOL. Yeah, there you go. That'd be funny, wouldn't it? Wyndham taking the cult leader to a movie, Holy Nightmares. Oh, my gosh. That's why I said, even if someone commissioned his Man in the Woods story, and I mean, look, you're seeing some of this coming out. Kyle Scarborough put out that mask of Alexa and then put out the mask of Huskus, which they wanted to bring the Funhouse to life. And Bray wanted to play the characters. Now, see, again, this blows my mind. Like, why wouldn't you let him do it? If he's willing to go ahead and do it and he wants to kind of be like the Four Faces of Foley and do something like that, why the hell not? Especially if you're going to get these gruesome, I mean, oh my gosh, I just don't get it. Like, I just don't get it. And I don't know, maybe if they didn't want to do it because like, it was like, well, Foley kind of did. I don't know. But I think they're really going to find out how much they dropped the ball. I really, really do. Really do.
They left millions and millions and millions of dollars on the table.
They did.
They did. Doing that because can you imagine
the merchandise?
And to James Chadwick's point, can you imagine? I mean, listen. I don't hate on See No Evil as much as other people, but can you imagine them doing a movie, a full feature length movie of the Funhouse with all of those characters and releasing that in 2021 or 2022 with the resurgence of horror movies as it is? Think about what WWE could have made in that.
Oh, and again, yeah, they had that studio to do that kind of stuff. So why wouldn't you? Like, why would it just I just don't get it. And even if there is a smidgen of truth to some of these things that are coming out, and I don't know, maybe he was giving them some pushback, but he's only probably doing that because he loves what he does, and he wants to do it the best way he can instead of putting out some crap product where, you know, what did we hear that Vince was going to have some of the wrestlers do it? Because we got news about that too, is that some of the backstage guys were saying, well, they were going to have me play Ramblin', and they were going to, and what were they going to do? Were they going to put him in a fuzzy suit? Like, was he going to come out in the big stupid rabbit fuzzy suit with ears? And see, that is what I think of, because that's the kind of crap that they do sometimes. And it probably got to the point where it was just too, I don't know, maybe it was too adult for them. Maybe, they're not thinking along the lines of what fans watch today in horror films. They're not thinking maybe about that. They're thinking about this kiddie stuff. And I don't know. I really don't know. And hopefully we find out. Hopefully we find out. Maybe we'll get the behind the scenes stuff on Cult of Windham on the podcast or whatever it's going to be. And hopefully we find out because I would really love to hear all of his side of the story. And with that movie, you attract new horror fans to watch WWE shows, to watch the Fiend. Yeah. I mean, people that not necessarily all horror fans watch wrestling, so vice versa. If they go just to see the movie and they're like, ooh, this kind of looks cool, when they see a trailer, and they may never have watched wrestling in their lives, or maybe they watched it years and years ago, and they see that trailer, well, where is this guy? Well, he's on TV every Monday or every Friday. Oh, okay, I need to see that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, like I said, we can spend an entire show. Really, we can on Halloween stuff. But before we stop it, tell us in the chat favorite Halloween match or moment, or not Halloween, favorite scary match or moment that you guys saw in wrestling. And then we will move on because we do have a lot of other stuff to cover. I know this is a really fun discussion. We didn't even have the tip of the iceberg basically with this. We could do a horror special all devoted to that, but we do need to move on. So tell us what your favorite wrestling memory was for like horror stuff. Let us know in the chat what it is. We will start to move on here. We talked about Bray and where he ends up and where he's going to be, and how cool it's going to be. Fiend winning the championship, crown jewel, him popping up behind Seth. There you go. Yeah. Oh my God! Remember when he made Seth scream like a 5-year-old child, and Seth screaming like in the corner of the ring. I loved it when he popped up out of the ring because, I mean, that's classic. You saw Undertaker do that. You saw Kane do that. And when he popped up out of the ring and stuff like that, and he was grabbing Daniel Bryan and he had Daniel's hair. He was taking Daniel's hair off. Draven Dresden, thank you very much for the kind super chat. Irony, anyone else, stuff gets reported immediately. See Charlotte as most recent example, but apparently any issues with Bray can only come out when he's free. Like I said, who knows? I don't. The people who reported this, not necessarily a great source of wrestling news. I don't know. There was just another thing with them today. That same, and I'm not even going to name them, but Big Dan pointed it out. There's another wrestler who got named by them. Just happened today, and he came right out and said, "I did absolutely not say that." So I don't know how good that they are, but they seem to not hit on a lot of things. So I'm not so sure that they weren't just trying to get clicks with that post and get Bray's attention, which they did. So I don't know. But we'll see. Randy and his dad seeing themselves in a coffin. Undertaker Kane Inferno match. Yeah, classic. Classic match. Fiend versus Orton in the Inferno match. Goldberg versus Fiend was a true horror match. Alexa Bliss almost killing Randy Orton in Fastlane. Undertaker versus Mankind Hell in a Cell. Again, classic match. You'll never see another one like that. I guarantee you won't. Wrestling has changed a lot, and they have safety precautions and things like that and all that. So you're never gonna probably see something like that again. So yeah, absolutely. And you guys can go back. Jeff and Brandy did a hot tag episode all about the Undertaker, and a big part of it was that match. So you can go listen to that as well. They talked a lot about that. Firefly at Funhouse cinematic match is number one. You mean the one with John Cena? Yeah. Very interesting. I mean, we went back, and Jeff and I talked about that afterwards, saying you went back and watched it like 6-7 times. Mm-hmm. And how many matches can you say I went back and watched over and over and over and over again? Crazy. London Askew Hit Row member says hello to you. If WWE were making movies like they used to, they would have held on to Bray. Let's see if we got any more down here. Fiend winning championship at the Elimination Chamber. Alexa on top of Randy, and Randy's wife was good. Yeah. I like the Shawn Michaels is telling with Joe Gacy and Harlan. Oh, the story he's telling in NXT. Kind of feels like yeah, it does. And again, see, you're seeing influence. You're seeing influence. And now Bray is influencing young people. So the people who are coming into NXT with that story are pulling ideas from him. And that's how it goes. And that's probably one of the greatest compliments you can get, I would imagine, as a wrestler. If they're taking stuff from you, that's got to be a big thing. What about Raven's crucifixion of the Sandman at ECW? Crucifixions were a thing. We saw Stephanie get put up on a cross at one time, too. Yeah. They really did some risque stuff in the 90s. But again, stuff that you won't see it again. It's just the generations have changed and they're more conscious about things like that. So you won't ever see any of that again. Mox versus Kenny, no balls exploding, barbed wire death match was horrific. Oh, they covered what happened to Danhausen. No. What happened to Danhausen, Emerald? I didn't hear anything about Danhausen. Danhausen's another. I'm sure he got a lot of his inspiration from, but he went with a whole direction with his too, where he made it humorous. So he's a demon, but he's humorous. So yeah, you see so much of that, and you will see it going forward for sure. So, all right, cool. So. Thanks for doing the Halloween stuff. Appreciate all your participation. We are going to move on. We've got a lot of stuff to cover. We do this usually on Saturdays. And I think, Jeff, we're going to start with some news, correct?
That's right. We're going to tackle the news. And this may be what the person was talking about. We are going to oh, my gosh. Okay, no, we didn't. I haven't heard that. Apparently... Emerald saying ankle broken in Knoxville.
Oh, that's a shame.
That's what folks saw. Haven't heard that. If that's the case, we obviously wish Danhausen the best and a speedy recovery because we love that Danhausen on this show. So on the channel, we love that Danhausen. So if that's the case, then thoughts out to him. But we are going to talk about Ring of Honor, which Danhausen was a part of that roster. And unless you've been living under a rock, if you haven't heard the news, Ring of Honor has released all of their talent, and they're kind of dropping back to punt, and they're saying that they're going to come back and they're going to come back and do something else. So.
Yeah, this was a big announcement. It made Busted Open. They were talking about it for almost 2 days, going back and forth about this. And I told you my thoughts on this. I mentioned it on our show on Impact on Thursday, but if you weren't there, I'll kind of reiterate. I don't like it. I don't like it. And listen, I know there's things coming out now saying that this was a long time coming, that the company that owned them really wasn't very interested in wrestling. They just kind of did it because they wanted to kind of get involved in wrestling. And maybe that's the case. I know that Bully Ray talked a lot about it, and he was kind of upset that people were saying that Bully Ray was being talked about as being the promoter on Ring of Honor for a long time, and he vehemently denied it. He said he absolutely was not. He said there was one person there. He didn't name a name, but he said there was one person there who was the promoter and was the guy who was their creative. Basically, one guy was their creative. So I don't like it because we had just talking. We just were talking on our show not that long ago about how we all had such a wonderful amount of choices, and all the other companies that are out there. And I don't want that to go away. And when I saw this happen, a lot of people were saying, is this the first to fall? And I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. We have two huge companies now that are going at each other. Vince going after one, kind of saying he's not, but indirectly they are, because they've got Roman Reigns kind of being their spokesperson. And then the other is rallying the troops to go after, Vince and his, and kind of saying anything about, that other company that they want to. So I don't like it. I don't, and I wish that would stop. They don't need to do it. Neither one of them do. AEW has their own fan base, and WWE has their own fan base, and some of them intertwine, and they intertwine very peacefully. they enjoy watching, and they don't get into the arguments. But and this, to me, this happened in the 90s. And if you're too young to remember, go look it up. This is what happened. They killed off a lot of these smaller companies by fighting one another, because the smaller companies couldn't stay afloat. They couldn't compete with all these big names that were going in both companies. And then they kind of went away, and a lot of their good talent got picked up by one of the other two companies, and that was it. You had no choice. So history, you have to learn from history, or you're bound to repeat it. That's the saying. And I just hope that this isn't going back down that road. And I hope ROH isn't the first to fall. Jeff and I and Tazzy love Impact Wrestling. I don't want to see them being next because of the talent there. I don't want to see MLW go. I don't want to see, any of the other smaller, quote unquote, promotions go by the wayside. And this kind of scares me, because I get they're saying, well, we're going to regroup. I don't know. Do you really think they're going to regroup in April? If they're letting everybody out of their contracts, these guys aren't going to wait around. We kind of heard this whole regroup thing, Jeff, from NWA, didn't we?
Yeah. I think this is a different situation. I think it all depends on how they come back. And Conrad is saying a lot of what I wanted to say there. I'm not going to repeat it. I'll just put that up there. But I think that if they come back and it's not them trying to compete per se, and just don't worry about a TV deal. There's a new report that we're going to talk about next, dealing with Sinclair Media, who had Ring of Honor on there. And it's not necessarily that they didn't want to be in wrestling. I think they were just done with their relationship with Ring of Honor. And I think it all depends on how Ring of Honor comes back. If they come back and really have more of an indie feel to it, and you don't per se try to get the big names and try to swim in those same waters, because at this point, they're shark infested waters with the bigger companies. I just feel like, a lot of people are saying that certain companies killed Ring of Honor. We also have to look at Ring of Honor and say, what did Ring of Honor do in the last several years to really set itself apart? Anyone that asks me about Impact, I always say this, and then I'll hush so Tazzy and Joe, you can finish the point. But when it comes to Impact is a cockroach. Like, when we're all dead and gone, cockroaches will still exist. And when we're all dead and gone, Impact Wrestling will be a hologram of Scott D'Amore and whoever else, and they'll still be running Impact Wrestling, and and it'll still be around, because somehow, some way they survive all of this stuff. So, I wouldn't lose hope just yet, but I would also say Ring of Honor, like, as good as their programming and content was, we also have to look at them, honestly, and say, did you do enough to set yourselves apart? And I think sometimes they had opportunities that they didn't fully capitalize on, and then they relied on a lot of outside help to build them, as opposed to always kind of looking out for Ring of Honor and making Ring of Honor stand apart.
Yeah. And Bully Ray, when they were talking about it too, Bully Ray said that his when he knew it was the beginning of the end was when they let Cody and the Bucks go. He said if they were able to keep them, they wouldn't have turned out into what they were. So he called that out as the moment that he thought that it was going downhill after that. So Tazzy, go ahead.
This is kind of. No, by the way, that was a great analogy. Great analogy. I was like, that makes a lot of sense because they lost for a little bit, then they came right back and like, hey, there you go again. This is what happens when you have bad leadership. And I honestly think they should have just, instead of releasing people from the contract, they should have froze it. my personal opinion, but if oh man, this is so hard, man. It's like I didn't watch Ring of Honor on a daily basis, but I knew him. I knew who was on there. I every time, for instance, every time I see somebody in NXT and they came from Ring of Honor, I go back and watch their matches. If that makes sense. So I knew about them, and they've been around forever. And for them to like be gone like this, it's heartbreaking, and I'm like, I don't want to see it happen. Like, this is actually, if they come back and completely reset, and like, all right, here we go, we're gonna reset, make the roster better and whatever, and we're gonna make money and have fans enjoy the product. I'm all for it, but if we go to, I don't know, I can't think of a promotion name right now where they just ECW. If it goes to that where they just completely died, then it could be the end. It depends. It all depends on who the new leadership is, and if people are go back and watch it, like because this is gonna be like, how many months it's gonna be? About 5 months. About 5 months they're not gonna have Ring of Honor, and then they're just gonna appear back. So I'm like, I just gotta say we'll see, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much else you can do other than to wait and see what happens. All right, fair enough. Moving on. What's next, Jeff?
All right, so we talked a little bit about Sinclair Media, but they announced that they're gonna have WoW in the fall of 2022. So, so was it that they didn't want to be in wrestling, or were they just done with the Ring of Honor business?
Kind of looks that way.
Yeah.
Kind of looks that way. We told you guys we were keeping our eye on this one anyway, because of course we all knew that announcement that came through about this, and AJ Lee, of course, being a part of this. So it's going to be, and everyone's favorite person that got mentioned in our chat all the time, and now it kind of stopped, Tessa, of course. But yeah, we're gonna look into this when it does happen. I was hoping it would come out a little bit earlier in the year next year, but you heard when it's going to be out. So great point. I mean, it does kind of look like if they are getting right back into wrestling, and you would think that if they had no interest there, they would just not go into it at all anymore. But obviously it looks like they are getting into something else, which may be very cutting edge. So maybe, like Jeff said, maybe it wasn't, Sinclair, but maybe it was indeed something with Ring of Honor that they just didn't like. Maybe they weren't seeing returns on it that they wanted to. And unfortunately, and I know there are fans of it out there, and I'm not saying anything demeaning towards it because I like some of the stuff and some of the athletes that were on there and some of the matches that I saw. But maybe there was just something that they just didn't like about it, because obviously they're getting into this now anyway. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it looks like to me. Tazzy, what do you think?
like I said, I like sitting here like, but you just left there and you went here. I'm like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? I'm all for the WoW. Come on, think about it. But I'm all for this project right here. But if it's going to be the exact same thing you just did with Ring of Honor, I don't think it's a good idea, because then we're going to be doing right back what we did, just do it with Ring of Honor. And like, like I said, wrestling needs a wrestling promotion needs leadership. If you don't have that right leadership, it's not gonna do well. Right now, you can say whatever you want about Vince, but WWE been around for years. Say what you want about Tony Khan. So far, so good. I'm just saying. Impact Wrestling. That's for right now. They got the perfect leadership right now there, and they're doing very well. I'm just saying, like, if you don't have right leadership, then it's not going to do well.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Jeff?
I got a name for everyone. Jeannie Buss.
Oh.
She is the owner of WoW. If you don't know about Jeannie Buss, if you've never heard the name, the Buss family owns the
Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Money, and more money.
Yep.
So just think about that. This promotion is going to have some money behind it. Okay, so just think about that. The biggest problem with Ring of Honor, and I hope that WoW doesn't fall into the same trap. There are two issues with Sinclair Media. One, basically no promotion of Ring of Honor. They promoted it very, very little.
Mm-hmm.
And then the time slot. If you put them in the same time slot that Ring of Honor had, you can't expect them to draw a huge number or to get a huge following. That's a great point too, Conrad. It's been rebooted several times. Yep. Now with Jeannie Buss being behind it, with the money, with the bankroll, possibly it can be sustained. If you can buy a better time slot on some of Sinclair's channels, you might want to do that. And here's the other thing: I would not be surprised to see WoW at some point have some type of channel on like a Roku or something like that to enhance their product. So I think it could be successful. I think it's very telling that that Sinclair is behind this because I think they see that there's a huge opportunity in women's wrestling today. And if you can get that market, because I mean, all these other companies have female wrestlers on their rosters, but not an entirely female roster. I think that's going to matter in 2022 a lot more than it has in years past. So I think they can get the groundswell of support. But again, promotion and your time slot when it comes to television means a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, good points. WoW has been rebooted several times, says Conrad. I'm no big fan of ROH personally, but from what I've read is that there was major mismanagement going on there, says Chad. I just hope not too many corny gimmicks, says Conrad. Hopefully WoW will be shown in the UK. Yeah, need some love for the UK. All right, let's move on. What's next, Jeff?
So we talked about this guy already. Again, it's one of those situations where, you know, if you don't have social media, God bless you, but there's a lot going on with this guy. So yeah, what's next for this guy? We already talked about a lot of it, but we'll kind of put.
Yeah, there you see the that's the tweet that Jason Baker put out. By the way, shameless plug, we did interview Jason Baker way back when, so you can go and you can listen to the interview we had with him. A lot of cool stuff that came out of that. Because he talked a lot about the originality of the origin, basically, of the Fiend Mask. So go check it out if you didn't get a chance to, if you want something to listen to someday. But yeah, that is Jason Baker on the left of that picture. Of course, Bray pointing on the right. They're in front of Gate 4, and that is at Burbank, California, at the Warner Brothers Studios, which you can see the logo above his head. It came out from Sean Ross Sapp that they were not there because a lot of people assumed they associated it right away with AEW because they, of course, own TNT and TBS. So that's why that started to happen. But according to him, that's not why he was there. And he was there for movie interest. That the reason why they were down there. And also he attended, I think it was, what was it, a Clippers game that I think he went to? So he attended a Clippers game as well when he was there also. So I think out of all this, and again, we did talk about this before, but I think out of all this, one, I think it's really cool that he's working with Jason. So whatever he's doing, Jason works Jason has a studio now called Colossum Studios. He works for Tom Savini. If you don't know who Tom Savini is, you're not a fan of horror because Tom Savini is a horror master. He's done special effects in crazy amounts of horror films, including Friday the 13th, among many, many others. And so if they are working together, that's pretty exciting, regardless of what it is they're doing. If he's doing something with him again for wrestling, or if he's doing something for movies, that's pretty exciting because I don't think Jason would be involved if it wasn't something in the horror genre. That is what he does, and that's what they do well. So I think that's what I got out of it most. You see some of his other tweets, I'll feed you baby birds. He used that same tweet about a year or so ago. Went back and looked at that up, and he said, I think that's kind of his way of saying that we're going to hear his side of the story. I think that's what that meant. And then, of course, the 2 more days, because that was when the 90 days expired. So we did talk about what we would hope was next for him and what we saw what's next for him. I don't really know that there's much more to say, but go ahead. I'll let you guys kind of wrap it all up. So go ahead, Tazzy and Jeff. You can kind of wrap this whole thing up, and we will move on from the Bray Wyatt news.
I'm excited. when he started like tweeting like constantly, then you're like, oh, it's that time. It's that time for like to see what's going on. Like I said, I don't mind seeing him in Hollywood. I don't care what he does because everything he's going to do is going to be awesome. So I'm totally with whatever he does. So I would say I'm excited and I'm looking forward to what he about to do in the future.
Yep. Go ahead, Jeff.
I want to see him in movies.
Yeah.
I think when you have a guy like this with the creative mind that he has, a guy like this kind of transcends certain areas, certain genres, and I think the possibilities transcend what he can do in wrestling. So he can go and do some stuff in Hollywood. And I got to share this because C Wrestling just sent this to me. There's another picture out there where it was Windham and JoJo and Jason Baker. I'm not sure how many people have seen that photo.
Yeah, I've seen that.
No, I didn't see that one. Where was that?
It's been on Twitter. It's been making the rounds, but this is right here. You can barely see it, but it's Windham with a bunch of people there.
Okay.
And JoJo in front. One of those people that he's with is Rob Fee, and I'm going to read his Twitter bio. Horror writer at Marvel, head writer at Disney, creative at Netflix, producer at Westbrook, always down to hear pitches, freelance. And then he has a Gmail that people can send that stuff to. So just think about the guy, his resume, and the ability to seeing him in a photo with Windham. What does that say to you about what the possibilities are? You're talking about head writer at these places, and he's all about pitches. Yeah.
Creative at Netflix.
On Netflix.
And a horror writer for Marvel.
Yep.
That's about as big as you can probably get. And look at his bio on Twitter. He's standing next to Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair.
Yep.
In his bio. I mean, that's as big as it gets. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. I mean, wow. I mean, a horror writer for Marvel. So remember Bray used to talk about a graphic novel? If you're not familiar with what a graphic novel is, it's a comic book that tells a story. Well, you got that covered. Check. Creative at Netflix. You can almost do any movie you want. You got that covered. Check. I think we're kind of starting to see maybe what path he's going to take here. Why would he be meeting with all those guys? And I really don't think he's meeting with them because of wrestling. They would really not have anything to do with wrestling. So I think we're seeing a pattern, and I think we're seeing where he's going to go. So awesome, yeah. Awesome. Could you imagine? Yeah, like Big Dan said, maybe he has a role in the new Blade film. Could you imagine if he gets in a Marvel movie? Dear Lord, he's set for life. He's set for life. You know, I mean, could you imagine if they have him play like a vampire in the Blade film? That's mind blowing. He's set for life. He's I mean, good for him. Good for him. And that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Thanks for the DM, and thanks for sending the message to Jeff and myself. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. Really, really cool. Okay. All right. Let's move on from Bray.
So something really big happened, and then some bastard ruined the whole damn thing. Obviously, I'm talking about Moose, and I don't really feel like he's a bastard. I love Moose. A lot of people thought about this moment, but Josh Alexander won the championship at Bound for Glory, defeating Christian, and then Moose, who earlier won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, defeated Josh in front of his family. Wow.
I'm gonna let you guys all in on a little thing here, and we talked to Josh because of course he was on our show. I sent him, and I kind of wanted this to be from us, but also the whole community. So before he wrestled, I sent him a message on a DM, and I said, just wanted to say that all of us in the Insiders family and community are super excited for you. I'm wishing you the best in your match at Bound for Glory. Can't wait to see what's next. His response was, and I don't know if you can see it there. It's a little blurry, I know, but his response is, it said, thank you. Really appreciate that. But this last line is key. It's going to be a blast, was what he said. Now, you think that's coming from a guy who ended up, getting beat by the guy up on the screen in front of his family and then saying it's going to be a blast? I kind of think that we all know, guys, that they talk about what they're going to do going forward. And I think we saw what Josh is going to be going forward. A mean streak, fighting for something even more than that title was his exact words, because now he's been wronged in front of his family, which no man would ever want to see happen. So Josh is going to come back. Josh is going to be very, very, very different, I believe. And we're going to see him first with Suzuki, obviously. But what an ending to that. It was crazy. We watched it. We did the watch along for it. It was an absolutely crazy ending. Josh did deserve it, but he didn't really keep it for very long. And a lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of Impact fans did not like it at all because they did not give him a very long moment and they felt he deserved it. And I could see the point. He fought and fought and fought and fought from where he was. He gave up that X Division title to get his championship match. He beat Christian in a great match, and then he gets basically 2 minutes. And then it gets taken off of him. So, but you gotta sometimes as a wrestling fan think of the long term. And we don't do that enough today. We want gratification because we love the wrestlers that we love, which makes a ton of sense. When you follow someone, you want to see them do well, and you want to see them reach and that brass ring. You want to see them get it, and you want to see them have that moment. And we all know that his wife Jade was there. and his son was there. And you know, you don't want to see him not have his moment. But it looks as if they want to go a little further. They want to go a little more, and they want to have him become something more. So, yeah, what was a crazy ending. Moose is your title holder, and we'll see who he goes through. But I can bet you it won't be very long, and probably January, I'm thinking, when Josh gets his comeuppance. So go ahead, Tazza, you talk next, and then we'll have Jeff.
You know what's funny about the whole thing is when he won the Rumble, I mean the Battle Royal, Gauntlet. It's all the above, y'all. It's all the above. We kind of like picture like, you know, it's Moose. If you guys know Moose for the last like our watch-alongs we've been watching and everything, you kind of saw this coming. Because it's like, what? Why would he do that? Like you should expect that. Like, oh my God, he's going to want that title tonight because he can get it tonight. All he had to do is wait for that match to be over and come out here. Just like the Money in the Bank contract. That's like the same thing. So he basically did with you know, with the exact same thing. It's like he could, hey, I want this match now. I need that. I'm gonna get this match now. And well, there we go. We got the match, and Bush is your champion. Either way, both of them deserved it. Josh got this dirt. He is going to get the title back for the people, for the Impact fans. It's like, oh, they should do that to that guy. He's going to get it, and he's probably going to have the title even longer. So I'm just saying, I loved it. That it was awesome. We was all like, I was used. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love Josh. I love him to death. But that was awesome.
Yeah. All right. I mean, like I said, it was a moment in wrestling is controversial when it gets like so many different opinions from a lot of different people. And I was trying to read everybody's comments and stuff like that just, you know, after it was over, and it certainly did. Go ahead, Jeff.
What I'll say is this. A few things here real quick. There were people that loved it. There were people that hated it. But guess what? Both sides were talking about it. And that's exactly what Impact wanted you to do. You're talking about it. That's the point. Moose is as deserving of a champion as I think you'll have in wrestling. People forget about how long Moose has been at this and always kind of hitting that glass ceiling but never able to break through. He broke through. And I want to point something out real quick too. And people are going to be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you're going here. Well, guess what, dang it? I'm going there. Another champion of color represented in this business. That's huge. Moose, I mean, and I'm just being honest here. Moose has been physically gifted enough to be a champion. And we said this like a year ago. If he can just do the promo stuff a little bit differently, if he can find that lane that works for him, and I'll go ahead and give you a spoiler alert. We're doing favorite moments of the week. Moose's promo from Thursday night is in my top 3. I mean, you know, that's it. That's it. But Moose is deserving of this moment. And the fact that, you know, he had this opportunity on their biggest stage of the year means a lot. Now, the stuff with Josh, that's all storytelling. All storytelling. He is going to come back, and once he gets this belt, don't be surprised if he goes on a Roman Reigns type run where he holds the belt for like a year or more. Like, just don't be surprised. because it's all about him overcoming obstacles. At every moment, he's overcoming an obstacle. This won't be any different.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. A lot of people agreeing. Alicia says amen. Randy Sam says Jeff same. That was a hell of a promo for Moose. Yes, we will talk about that again, I'm sure. Big Dan says absolutely, Jeff. That's wonderful, and I'm sure Big E was absolutely thrilled for him, just like I'm sure Moose was thrilled for E. Wrestling is Michael's talking about Alexa Bliss out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. All right, let's move on. What is next, Jeff?
All right, man. So we go from one surprising champion at Bound for Glory to another surprise at Bound for Glory. Mickie James. Mickie James. New knockout champion.
Bound for Glory was written for me. I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm not going to be selfish. I'm being selfish about it, and I don't care. Scott D'Amore owed me one, and yeah, I had my night, and it continued. I mean, I got the demon. I got, which, by the way, if we're spoiling moments, that's going to be one of mine. I got a demon back from WCW, and this shocked me. We had our previews for the pay-per-view, and none of us thought Deanna was going to lose. None of us did. So huge moment for who I consider my favorite female wrestler of all time. Huge moment for Mickie James. Comes in, wins that title. You don't think that she felt just a little bit of a, kind of stick them to you type of feeling when she won this title? Say all you want to, and if the naysayers will say, yeah, but that's WWE and this is only Impact. I don't even want to hear that. She won a title after being let go, and treated horribly with the whole garbage bag thing. We know all about it. So she beat the unbeatable person that we had thought was going to carry that title until God only knows when, because we saw no one that was lined up that could probably beat her. So she won. And it was an amazing moment for her. She's going to get right back in the mix. Madison Rayne came right up to challenge her. So obviously Mickey's going to be there a little bit, and she's not going away. People are saying, well, I thought she was in NWA. Apparently they've got a partnership, and they're going to work where they're going to work that. So it was awesome. And it was an absolute stunner. And look, when I am having a lot of fun watching wrestling, it's when I can get surprised. And I had no idea when she won. I was genuinely shocked, and you could probably see the expressions on my face when she did, because I did not see it coming at all. So yeah, kudos to Mickie. And listen, this proves to me a couple things. One, you could rise above being let go from one of the big companies, and two, you can become a champion of a company that maybe people don't give a lot of respect to, and put respect on it. So my 2 points from that. All right, go ahead, Jeff.
This was the ultimate. So you think I'm worth a trash bag, huh? Watch this. Watch
Yep.
this. Here's a spoiler alert. Deonna Purrazzo's run has been a big middle finger to the company she was let go by, because you had Deonna Purrazzo on your roster, and you mean to tell me you couldn't find anything for her to do? Are you freaking kidding me? It just goes to show that there are multiple places where you can have success.
Yep.
And it's not like it used to be. The wrestling business is not like it used to be. Okay, like everybody used to aspire to the WWE. Well, everybody's aspirations are different nowadays. Now it's different now. It's like, okay, yeah, going to the WWE is cool, but I can go to Impact, and I can get on a taping schedule, and I can do other stuff. Like I can go all of these other indie places and really just, have at it with my wrestling, and I still get seen because people need to understand WWE is not the end all be all anymore. Still a huge brand, but it's not the end all be all. So to see Mickie James win this, for me, this was a legacy making win for her. Her legacy was already done, but this just further cemented that she belongs in just about every wrestling Hall of Fame that there is because of the longevity and what she's been able to do. And she's also another one that really changed women's wrestling. So yeah, I was happy. I was happy for Joe because I know how much he really genuinely loves Mickie James as a performer. So I was genuinely happy, and it was a shocking moment, and it was great. I mean, it was very well done.
Absolutely. And you don't think for a second that some of these other women that are in these other companies that maybe aren't getting time or aren't getting seen or kind of feel like they're not going anywhere aren't going to look at what she did and think, wow, they really have an amazing women's division in Impact Wrestling. Maybe I ought to, maybe I ought to consider that and, look into that in the future. So yeah, absolutely. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. Go ahead, Tazzy.
Speaking of that, don't be afraid to see Amadon in Impact Wrestling soon. Just throw it out there. Just saying. I'm still shocked. You see how he's still speaking. Like, do you guys realize that match had two former WWE superstars within the last 2 years? They was in WWE, and guess what? It was a great match. But guess what? WWE let it go. I get the whole thing. I get it. There's so many women on, especially in the WWE roster, that it's hard to give people time. But sometimes you got to find some time for all these talented women. Just throw it out there. Just saying, because they're gonna go to different companies. You're gonna be like, "Dang, we had that." It's like you was in a relationship and you're like, "I had that, but dang, she's there now." You know what I mean? I'm happy for her. I'm really happy for her because she deserves it. She deserved a title run before she got let go, because I think she's a Hall of Famer. She's a Hall of Famer. I can't remember how many times WWE champion she is. I think it's 5, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I have to look that up. But she's a Hall of Famer, so she's gonna be a Hall of Famer in 2 spots. So shout outs to Mickie James, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Mickey's story was another overcoming story, said Deanna. Joe and Jeff, you hear Impact signed Speedy Ball Mike Bailey. He's an independent wrestler. I did not hear that. All right, let's move on from Mickey. What's next, Jeff?
Well, Joe, it's that time, man. For people's favorite segment.
Is it everybody's favorite segment of our show time?
So we might as well just go ahead and cue up the music, right?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.
Airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're gonna hear about it.
Everyone's favorite segment of our show, and isn't it funny how it transitioned to this? But yes, this is the segment of our show where we can kind of let off some steam, shall we say. We can talk about some things that may be bugging us a little bit about the wrestling world. And you know what's cool about this whole segment is we can do this and yet still keep it positive and not throwing hate and shade on everybody at the same time. So it is possible to do. And that is what we are going to do here. And we've got Tazzy can air grievances tonight. Look at that. Tazzy can air grievances tonight.
And I got a big one.
Mine's not going to be too long. I'll start and I'll get mine over with. All right. So speaking of Impact Wrestling, please, on the socials, right? Which are just lovely places sometimes. And by the way, now Facebook is going to be called Meta. I'm still confused about that. But anyway, I'll tell you a quick little aside story there just before I get into my grievance. If anyone heard that whole conversation about the whole Meta thing, so they apparently had a design about future planning going forward. And Zuckerberg named Meta being number one. Okay. You know what number two was? Teleportation. What? They're going to. I mean, are we going to be transported like on Star Trek? Is that what's coming next?
Wait, you said what?
He said teleportation was their number two focus.
I'll make sure I heard that too. I'm like, wait, what?
I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Like, you're changing the name of Facebook to Meta, and now we're going into teleportation?
Can we transport food too?
Listen, I don't know where it's going to start. I don't know where it's going to start. I don't know what they've got cooked up. I mean, did they figure out how to teleport crap? Because, like, holy cow. But anyway, completely off topic. I couldn't believe I heard that. And people were talking about that on the radio and stuff when I was coming home. I'm like, what? Anyway, okay. So people on the socials. I'm sick and tired. Sick and tired of seeing people bashing Impact Wrestling. And listen, I don't care if you watch it and bash it, okay? If you watch the show, to me, that kind of tells me that you, I guess, deserve, if you really hate what you're watching, to say something about it. On the other hand, don't go into our discussions on our social media platform. I don't care what you say on your own. That's you. That's your social media. If you want to make an idiot and an ass out of yourself, you can certainly do that on your own social media all you want to. Don't come into a conversation where I or Jeff or anybody else on our Twitter puts out and start knocking a show that you know nothing, absolutely nothing about. You're looking at it from a standpoint, well, yeah, but I watched it 7 years ago. I don't want to hear that. Did you know how much things change in 7 years? I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of it. Like I said, keep it to yourself. If that's really the way you feel, then do your own little rant. But listen, all you're going to get from me, first of all, I will tell you this. At this point in my, in this whole thing of being associated with our stream and everything like that and doing the socials and stuff, I now have if there was a marked button on my iPhone or my iPad for block, it gets pressed almost instantaneously. I don't even argue with these morons anymore. You just flat out get blocked. And that's the end of it. People will probably be like, well, what happened with the argument? I wanted to continue it. Yeah, no, you're gone. I don't even give you the time of day because honestly, you have no intelligent comments whatsoever to make. If you're going to sit there and you're going to try to tell me, well, they're too small of a company, they can't afford these guys. Everybody was in this big uproar when no Braun and no Bray showed up, right? Well, now, isn't it funny how now these things are coming out saying, well, maybe Bray wasn't going to go back to wrestling in the first place. And maybe Braun doesn't want to wrestle all the time anymore. And that's what came out too. So, but Impact can't afford them. They've got to go to AEW because AEW can afford anybody. Listen, please check your facts. Please look up the name of the company called Anthem and look to see what their yearly income is. Please check that out. There was a guy I literally had to take a part of a Wikipedia page about Anthem and share it with him to shut him up. And even then he kept going. And then I'm like, you know what? Done. Goodbye. I'm literally at a point where I just don't give a shit anymore. And if you piss me off on the socials, you're gone. And that's going to be the end of it. I don't need the crap. I don't need to listen to drivel because that's really what it is. You have zero knowledge about the show you're criticizing and you're talking about. You don't even know who owns them. You don't even know how much money they generate. In fact, you probably can't even tell me two wrestlers that are in the promotion. But yet, You're going to go on the socials. You're going to make a complete ass of yourself, by the way, because all the rest of the people in the thread are criticizing you too. So you're going to make a complete idiot of yourself by coming out and saying that, when in fact people know that the only reason you're doing it is because you are a big fan of AEW. And God forbid, it would destroy your entire life, apparently, if, wow, there's a gigantic fly on my ceiling. Geez, that's a big ass boy. Holy cow. Anyway, it would destroy your entire life if Bray Wyatt went to Impact and not to AEW, because that's where you're coming from. And I said that to him too. I'm like, you're just upset because you want him to go to the promotion you love the most, and you don't want to consider anything else. And there was nothing else after that. So that's my rant. If you're going to do that kind of stuff, listen, don't, like I said, don't come at me with that stupidity, because that's really what it is. You're just being stupid. In this day and age of being able to fact check things and look up things and stuff like that, you can look for anything you want to. Take 2 minutes before you blow off your mouth on social media and actually look at facts and check things out. It might make you look like a more intelligent person than what you are looking like. So there you go. I'm done. That's mine. Who's up next?
I think Taddy should be next. He said he's got a good one. I want to hear.
There you go.
You guys ready? So I'm gonna go back. You guys remember? Hold on. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I don't know what just happened. My mic just went completely crazy. And Joe left. What just happened? It's Halloween. Woo. No. Make sure my earphones and everything good. All right. If anybody remember the video that was popped up on social media about somebody stopped by security and it was at a wrestling match. They got stopped by security and a WWE official at an event. It was somebody dressed like the Fiend. Anybody remember that? Guess what, guys? I was there. So I know the truth and nothing but the truth. So I am going to tell you what actually happened. Now, if anyone remember the whole shooting with the whole Batman movie years ago, that was basically what that was about. It wasn't about, the WWE don't want somebody dressed like the Fiend. It was nothing like that. It was still like, hey, we can't have people wear masks because we need to see people's faces, because just in case something happens. It was like that. So I'm gonna tell you guys like this: if you're filming something at a show, and then you put a caption saying, "Oh, somebody getting WWE getting upset, telling people that don't dress like the Fiend," don't do that. You know what that make you look like? An asshole. So I'm gonna tell you this: I'm glad I was there so I could tell you guys the truth, and I also blame the one and only the toilet water Dave Meltzer for that too, because he retweeted it instead of actually was like, so wait a second.
Hold on. I got a live feed from Dave Meltzer saying something. Hold on, let me let him speak real quick. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for that live report.
Just saying. So I don't like telling you this. You never know who's actually. And I almost went. I literally almost went on social media and blasted the guy, but I'm not that type of person. I'm like, I don't want to start drama, and it'll be all bad. So, but I just want to give you guys the truth. It was nothing about the Fiend. WWE don't care. Remember, WWE owns the Fiend. So they don't care if you dress like. And by the way, there was somebody actually dressed like Kane too. Exact same thing. They told him to take the mask off because they can't have people wearing masks no more like that. Because You don't know. You just don't know. You don't know. You know this time of world what's going to happen. But that agreements don't. Just do me a favor. When you see a video, ask questions. You're like, are you sure this was what happened? Are you positive this would happen? Did you hear them say that? Because I'm looking at straight ahead and like they actually, the guys, they actually liked it. Like, this is nice. Like, you can tell they was laughing and everything. I like that. That's kind of cool. They wasn't like, oh yeah, take that off. Fisherman tell you tell Fisherman don't want that on the camera. They're like, hey, get out of here with that. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I used you as an example for that, because I knew you were at that show.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody went bananas when that came out. Like, right away, people are so ready to start like a lynch mob about something that they don't know a damn thing about.
Mm-hmm.
And it got blown so far out of proportion that entire night, talking about that stupid thing where you don't even know what was said. Why would you get behind that and all of a sudden start rallying? Oh, this guy hates Brave. Oh my God, they made him take. First of all, they don't allow you to wear overhead masks a lot of times at events. And listen, if you don't know by now why they wouldn't want to do that, with all the terroristic stuff we had happen in the past, over the past 10 years or so, you may want to go and read some news, because, yeah, but it didn't look like it, even if you watched it, because it did look like the dude kind of like tapped him on the shoulder and stuff. He wasn't yelling and screaming at the dude. So, yeah, like Tazzy said, just stop with that. Stop being so ready to take up arms and be like a lynch mob. Bray's a big boy. Bray can fight his own battles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if he saw that, which I'm sure he probably did, he probably thought to himself, this is nothing. I don't need to say anything about this. So stop always believing what someone goes and puts out there for internet clout. The dude called out Meltzer, right? He tagged Meltzer. First of all, what kind of idiot is this dude anyway? Meltzer hates Bray. Wouldn't you want to tag somebody who likes the dude? Like, what kind of an idiot are you? If this is how you're trying to clout chase, you're really going about it the wrong way. So, yeah, thanks for clearing that up, because there you go. All right, Jeff, you're up, dude.
All right, I'm gonna keep mine kind of simple. I feel like C's airing a grievance in the chat. So yeah, if you have a grievance, air it in the chat. We want to see it. We want to see them. I'm gonna keep it simple, and I feel like I talk to wrestling fans a lot on here, and I'm gonna do that today. Stop being hypocrites, please. And Conrad said something earlier, and I responded to it, but I want to say this too. Remember, not all AEW fans are bad. They're not. And not all WWE fans are good. I'm going to say that too. But here's the latest thing that I want to say about what happened. So there were some people months ago when the whole thing happened with the Miz and the zombie match and all that stuff. People hated it, right? But there were people that also loved it. And what you have to remember is these are businesses. So WWE was promoting Army of the Dead. Dave Bautista was in that movie. Dave Bautista used to wrestle there. All right. Then we saw, some Ghostbusters stuff this past week on AEW. And I saw people praising it, talking about how great it was, how awesome it was, and how, and all these different things. And it just made me wonder, like, especially with some of the people that were praising it, weren't you the same one that criticized WWE when they did the zombie thing? But now all of a sudden, it's okay. When Rick and Morty did their thing on AEW way back when, in the early days, when they were first on TNT, you praised it. It was a good crossover. But WWE does something similar to promote a movie or something like that, and it's a problem. Okay. I think I get it now. You hate on one thing because you just don't like them, which is fine. WWE has every right to gain your hatred because they've done some crappy things over the years. But don't praise one and criticize the other when it's basically the same thing. Like, these companies are in to promote. They're here to make money. They want to entertain us, but they also have to make money so they can entertain us and continue to do so. So my thing is, don't be a hypocrite. It's very easy to fall into the trap of saying, I love AEW, so everything that AEW does, I'm going to just hype it up, and I'm going to say that everything that they do is great. If Tony Khan took a dump on my lap, I'd say he took a dump of gold on my lap. It's that kind of thing. Like, you don't have to praise someone all the time to enjoy what they do. You can also be critical if they fall short in areas. That's called being a balanced person. When you praise everything that someone does, and this is the last point that I'll make, when you can't stand back and be analytical, and when it's all about how great they are, they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, they're going to let you down eventually. So just be prepared. Be prepared, because not everything is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it's okay to criticize things that don't make sense. There are a lot of things that I'm critical of with WWE. There are a lot of things that I praise. There are a lot of things that I'm critical of with AEW. There are a lot of things I praise. The difference is, when I criticize AEW, and this goes to the very vocal minority that I talked about with AEW. When I'm critical of AEW, I get called a hater. I get called a WWE mark. I get called all these things. Why? Because I'm just being honest. And there's a deeper conversation that we're about to have. That, let me go ahead and say this, spoiler alert: if you're an AEW fan and you thought that I was a WWE mark before and an AEW hater, give it about 3 minutes, and we'll see if you still like me, because I have some very choice things to say about their roster. So.
C says, "Could I air a grievance? Where did all these Bray Wyatt fans come from? Where were they when he was active on TV, busting his butt to entertain? They all trashed him. Now they love him." Yeah, it's called being fickle. My grievance is people talking about how Alexa Bliss looks fine to come back. They don't know if she's ready. Tony says, "God, I want to see Miz as a zombie." See, talking about the movie, the zombie movie, and then they got paid $1 million to promote it. My grievance is people talking about how Alexa Bliss's nose looks fine to come back. It's all about Alexa Bliss with Alexa Bliss Gamer. Well, I guess you do fit the your name. Toxic pro wrestling YouTube channels that stir the pot of hate and profit off it. That's the grievance. Okay, all right. Yeah. Look, we've always came out and said, if there's one thing you will always hear from us, as maybe opposed to some other channels, and I think it's with a lot of the friends of ours too, they are not in this for money. And yeah, so yeah, unfortunately listen, it's out there, and money does bad things to people sometimes. So, hey Bruce, how are you? WWE isn't perfect by any chance, but AEW, it seems lately, is firing up the toxic ass clowns by taking pot shots. Eric Bischoff, who basically told him to shut up, Khan is nowhere near Bischoff in 1986. Yeah, they've got a little war going on, don't they? Alicia says, "I wish people would stop having a go at me and others saying we're not real fans because we haven't been to a WWE live. I can't. I'm disabled, and they don't make many spaces and nobody to go with." Yeah, good point. Don't do it. Don't do it to them, Jeff, says Derek. All right. So there you go.
It's gonna happen. It's happening.
Oh, it's happening. That is the end of our grievance section for the evening. I hope you enjoyed it. And that was cool. You guys got to air some grievances of your own. So there you go. All right. What have we got up now, Jeff?
It's time to ring the bell, right?
Uh-oh.
Ding. Ding. Yes.
All right, here we go. Here it is.
It's our debate segment, which we do on every one of these shows. All right. Look at that. It's an AEW topic. Yeah. Topic number 1. AEW's roster is too bloated. TOO. Too bloated. Sell or no sell. Jeff, you want to go first or you want me to let Tazzy go?
Let's let Tazzy go because I have to say, I want people to hear Tazzy. I don't want people to tune out as soon as I
Well, I'm probably not gonna be any better.
Sell or no sell, Tazzy?
Sell. Dude,
we got a new I love it, so here it is.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Nice.
Dude, I'm not looking at this right? Am I looking at this right? Am I going back in time to the WCW days? Am I doing that? I'm being honest. I could have sworn this is exactly why people start hating WWE because people wasn't getting time. And now AEW, which by the way, I really hate that they're signing people and the people that was there before is not getting time like they used to. I'm kind of a little disappointed at that because I'll be honest with you, I don't watch the AEW every single week, but I watched it most of the time, and I miss like people that's like on Dynamite. Jungle Boy, I haven't seen Jungle Boy. What's it been about a couple weeks now?
Jurassic Express hasn't been around, yeah.
Right. I just recently saw Abaddon. Where's she? Okay. Anyway, yeah, I feel like I understand that you want to make sure your product is good. You want to have people that people will know and stuff like that. But I'll keep it real with you. It's good in the short term, but that long term, it's not going to be good. Just ask Eric Bischoff. He knows because by the time I'm gonna be clear with you. One, I don't get me wrong, I love CM Punk and everything like that, but he's not a young pup. He's not a young pup, and he's not gonna last years like the other guys that you had already on the roster. That was like 20s and early 30s and stuff like that. I'm just saying it's man, it's a super stuff, man. Because I honestly think it's kind of you shouldn't learn your lesson. And Tony Khan, as to be a wrestling fan, should know better than like try to sign everybody in the book. I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, I know I know you guys got more.
Yeah, look, I had said this earlier. And I'm not. Listen, I watched their whole show. I watched Rampage and I watched Dynamite this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always get the time to watch some of them. I tape them all. Sometimes I'll go through it a little bit when I can. But listen, there are matches that I absolutely loved. The Daniel Bryan match on Rampage was excellent. And you know, the Britt Baker match with Abaddon was fun. Although, does Abaddon get stored in like a well or something and only get pulled out for Halloween? Is that how that works? Listen, I have to sell it, and I'm not selling it because, and like Jeff said, people are going to say that we're hating on it. Sure, but you listen. You cannot get all this talent in 3 hours of television. You just can't. When people are going to demand, and Decoog made a comment, no sell, it's too early to say, plus there are 4 AEW shows, not 2. I'm not counting YouTube. Because I don't care what you tell me about that being a show, it's not. They talk about is demos, right? You don't get demos on YouTube. So let's not kind of go back there, because there's plenty of other stuff on YouTube as well. I'm not going into socials. I'm talking about TV time. TV time. You've got 3 hours, right? CM Punk is on every show. You don't think he wants time? Daniel Bryan. Now, Daniel's been backstage a little bit, but Daniel Bryan's been on the show. Adam Cole has been on the show. Where are you going to get the time? And then you want to get Bray, and you want to get Braun, and where in God's name are you going to put them? And listen, I can't help but go back and harken back. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. But you can't help but harken back to when, in the days of the 90s, when they grabbed everyone up that they could. And it blew up. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm not saying they're going to make the same mistakes. But I guess what I may be saying is, who's going to get out of the way? Is it going to be Jericho? Is it going to be, who's going to step away? Who's going to move out and let these other people get time? I don't know. And they said themselves, and this is coming from Meltzer and Alvarez, their ratings are not up. Their ratings are down. And CM Punk, they made that maneuver to have CM Punk start off the show on Dynamite. It didn't really help the ratings. Now then you get, it's going up against the World Series. A World Series of the Atlanta Braves and the Houston Astros. Two teams that really won't get anyone from the East Coast or the West Coast to give a damn. So, listen, it goes both ways. That's all. And I think that's really what we're trying to say. I'm not criticizing. I love some of their matches. The Ethan Page stuff that's going on with Jericho. I always praised Ethan Page, and I think he's an amazing villain. And that team that he's got with Scorpio Sky and with the guys from the MMA stuff, I think that's tremendous. And I think Ethan Page could be his match with Sammy Guevara was amazing. I like a lot of talent there. But I think that if they continue to just keep doing, and what I want to know is, are you signing these guys because you want them to be on your show and you like them as talent, or are you signing them to stick it to Vince McMahon? Because if you're doing the latter, that's no way to treat talent. That's no way to treat talent. I'm done. Go ahead, Jeff.
Obviously, I'm going to sell it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm seeing a lot of chat about, the 4 shows, and yes, I agree. They have Dark and whatever the YouTube show is, and that's great. Okay, let me ask you this though: how many people consider Main Event to be a real WWE show? I'll wait, because that's another show that they have. And I'm 205 Live, and I'm saying this respectfully. Like, I'm not trying to dismiss anyone. I'm being respectful with this, because it goes to the question of, when you sign with a place, you're signing on to be on their television, especially with some of the names that they have. When you have these people that are there, you're signed on to be on their television. Before all of these names became available, a lot of the people that we haven't seen recently were on their television on a consistent basis. Now they're not. My thing is, when it comes down to it, I like to look at I like to look at how many people could legitimately win the World Heavyweight Championship at a given time. And I don't want to go through everyone's name, but there are a few people in AEW right now who I consider to be in the title hunt that have a legitimate chance to win the championship in AEW. Right now, it's so convoluted to me with what they're doing because I think in some cases it's a roster grab. People for years talked about how WWE got talent to sit in catering just so another company couldn't have that talent. And we've seen how it affected places like Impact, like Ring of Honor that we talked about before. And, you know, you have to ask the question, and I'm not saying that Tony Khan is responsible for this or anything, but let's say that Tony Khan didn't sign all the people that he had. Let's say that for whatever reason, instead of going to AEW, Bryan Danielson went back to Ring of Honor. Are we still having that same conversation today that we just had earlier? And I don't think that that's the case. So do I think the roster is too bloated? Yes, absolutely. Because there's only so much you can fit into all that programming. I remember a time where there were like 17 matches on Dark. I'm sorry, but 17 matches on one card is too much. And that's not much of an exaggeration. So I just think, you know, yeah, I do think that is too bloated right now. I think we have to wait and see what happens to some of the contracts that they signed initially, because I think a lot of the people that we've seen there won't be there going forward. And maybe that's a natural way to balance it back out. But if you're asking me right now, is it too bloated? Yes. Like, in my opinion, I think it's too bloated because, again, you know, it's very easy to sit here and say, oh yeah, we got Bryan Danielson, we got CM Punk, we got Eddie Kingston, we've got John Moxley, we've got this person, we've got that person. And my next question to you is, where's the time? Because you have 2 hours on Wednesdays, you have an hour on Friday, and then you have your YouTube stuff. Now, I'd love to go back and see the YouTube numbers to see how many viewers those shows actually get, because then that would tell me a lot about the translation. I just don't go back and forth and look at the numbers because I don't care about the ratings as much as some people, though. But I think, like, do I think AEW is going to get it figured out? I do. But I think this is the part that I was worried about pissing people off, and I was trying not to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Billionaires like toys. And I think that a lot of these wrestlers are the new shiny toys. And my only advice, and Tony Khan would never listen to me, and that's fine. I don't, it is what it is. Don't get so enamored with the toys that you forget about what you got at the crib. Because you got some great stars at the crib that you don't need all these shiny new toys that get dropped by a company. You got some talent there that you don't even have. Honestly, I love CM Punk. You don't need CM Punk in AEW. I don't think you need Bryan Danielson in AEW. It's nice to have them. It makes for big, you know, like, oh, Bryan Danielson versus so-and-so on this episode of Rampage. That's great. But I don't think you need them. I think the MJFs, the Hangman Pages, Jungle Boy, Marco Stunt, all of these guys, I think either you put them in the spotlight, because we can keep saying they're not ready. Either you put them in the spotlight or you don't. Like, it's crap or get off the pot time. Like, that's where I'm at with it. Let's let these stars flourish. but I want to see what happens to the contracts because I think it does eventually balance out. But that's where I'm at today on it.
Yeah. All right, there you go. All right, what is our next topic?
All right, so the PWI women's top 5 was in the correct order, and I want to pull this up real quick because I want people to know who the top 5 were. So at number 1, we've got Bianca Belair, then Utami at number 2, Deonna Purrazzo at 3, Britt Baker at 4, Thunder Rosa at 5.
All right. Well, sell or no sell, if that was the correct order. I am going to no sell that. And it's not because I don't like who's in it. I just think they're not maybe in the right order. I love what Bianca's done this past year for women's wrestling and for WWE. But I kind of just think that I would have Deonna first. I would have Deonna first. Then people are going to say, yeah, well, you watch Impact, so of course you're going to have Deonna first. That's not really why. I just think that from where she came, I just think she's accomplished a hell of a lot, and she's beaten some unbelievable opponents. I would definitely have Bianca up there. I would definitely have Thunder Rosa up there. So I like who they chose. I think I would just put them in a different order. I'd probably have Bianca number 2. I might have Thunder Rosa actually up higher at number 3. Because Thunder Rosa, listen, if you guys aren't seeing Thunder Rosa in that top 5, I don't think you're watching much of her. She's done wonders for several different promotions. But yeah, I think just for me, I just think I would just reverse up the order a little bit. But I like the people that are there. But I think I would just change the order up a little bit. Big Dan says I would go Bianca, Deonna, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Sasha Banks. Yeah, I think I would have it Deonna, Bianca. I think Thunder Rosa at 3. Britt Baker would have to be there. I don't know whether maybe I'd have her at 4 or maybe 5. But again, I think I would have it the same. But just reverse the order a little bit. Go ahead. Let Jeff. Jeff, go ahead.
I'm gonna no sell it. My order would have been a little bit different, and my top 3 would have been different for sure. I would have had Deonna 1, Thunder Rosa 2, Bianca 3, Utami probably at 4, and Britt Baker at 5. That's probably the order that I would have gone. Just because I think you have to look at body of work over the year, and I don't know that anybody. I mean, you can argue that Bianca did, and that's why she's top 3. Deonna and Thunder Rosa had 2 of the best years of any wrestler, period, not just female, but period, through the year. So I think those 3 belong in the top 3. And, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Yeah, James, that's the other part that I was going to say. Utami, not many people watch a lot of Stardom. But again, that's what makes these lists so fun, is that we can get on a show like this and debate it, and nobody's right, nobody's wrong. It's just our preference. But I think if anything, this is a good opportunity for people to go out, and if you haven't heard of someone, go check them out, and maybe you become a new fan of that person. So yeah, that I would no sell it just based on the order.
Okay, Tazzy, what do you think?
I have to no sell it. Yeah, you guys gonna be like surprised with this. I wouldn't put Bianca number 1. I honestly wouldn't put her number 2 either. I would put her number 3. I would put Britt Baker at number 2. And I'll put Deanna at number 1. The reason for that is because of the title reigns, and what they did with the titles. These are your 3 champions, and I know I have to put Sasha at number 4 because, quite frankly, she was also champion this year. It depends. It depends. Like you guys said, it depends on your preference. And I see everybody's matches, and I think everybody that's on the top 5, they had great matches. But yeah, Deanna had the title for the whole year until now, and so she has to be the number 1. And Britt Baker, her title reign has been pretty good too, so I had to put her number 2. And then, of course, you got to put Bianca in that because she's her title reign, and she won it on the main event. She won it on the greatest stage of it all, so you got to do that. And then, yeah, it depends on your preference on how you want the list, honestly.
Yeah, it seems like everybody kind of agrees with all that too. No sell in order, said Deanna. Bianca at number 2, says James. Big Dan said Bianca, Deanna, Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, Sasha Banks. No sell, said Bruce. Who's second? I don't know who that is. It's not, like Jeff said, it's not a wrestling promotion a lot of people have seen. Don't think I'd have Bianca first. I like her though. Deanna is number 1. Utami's 2. Thunder Rosa 3. Britt Baker 4. And Bianca 5. This was Deanna's year, followed closely by Utami. So yeah, see, the people who have seen her obviously would they would choose her. So he says Bianca at number 1 just for accomplishments this year: Royal Rumble win, WrestleMania title win, decent reign as champion from where she was last year. That's a breakout year for sure. I'd love to watch Stardom. We just don't get it. I would pick Deanna, but this is awesome. Just like Jeff said, everybody that was African American getting a chance and a spotlight, and I love it. This is crazy. We all want Bianca to be a big star. Well, listen, she's still top 5, Luke. It's not like she's not a big star. I mean, top 5 is pretty damn good in a long list of people. So I don't really think they're dissing her at all by saying she's just lower in the top 5. I don't think there's any problem with that. Deanna, Bianca, Britt. Okay, all right. What's next, Jeff?
All right, final one of Sell or No Sell. Ring of Honor will make a major return. Sell or no sell?
I'm gonna no sell that. I said this before and we talked about this. I mean, maybe they can, but I don't know. To me, we've seen a similar story before with NWA. When NWA was going pretty good on YouTube and stuff like that, they had the studio wrestling going on, and then COVID hit, and COVID kind of killed it. And they kept trying different things. They did that terrible whatever that was with that whole town thing that they were doing with I don't even remember what that was, but it was awful. And then they. I don't know. To me, I think, listen, if your ownership group did indeed give up on you, and they kind of felt you weren't the thing anymore, I just don't, unless they could really get another ownership team to take a chance and to pick them up. But again, all these people that they released, it's not like they're small names. And are they going to wait around? I mean, if somebody comes along with a better offer, they're going to take it. So, yeah, no sell. I just don't see it happening. Maybe it comes back in a different way, or if it gets picked up by a bigger company or something like that, or a different company maybe. But I don't see it happening. So, no sell. Go ahead, Tazzy.
I don't want to say this, but I got to because I gotta go over my head. I have to no sell it. Yeah, I don't unless you can find a ownership group that can actually, can take over. And it depends who you get to sign there too. If you get some talent, back on that roster and get the right people and promote. You guys said need to promote better. if they promote it better, it could possibly happen, but I don't think it's going to happen right away. No. So I definitely don't sell it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
It hurts my. You know what? I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna say
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna sell it. And the reason why I'm gonna sell it is because I think it all depends on what your definition of major is. I think if they come back and they kind of find their own lane and find a niche that they fit into, then I think it can be major. What does that mean? I think personally, they should really focus on the pure wrestling. That's what I think. Pure wrestling, trios championships, like they had, and really focus on the pure stuff. I think there's enough of a market out there for people that really enjoy it. So why not kind of lean into that a little bit more? Have someone like a Jonathan Gresham, if he's still available. I don't think he will be, but have someone like a Jonathan Gresham really be the figurehead of your organization. So I want to see them come back. I think they will come back. I think success and a return is relative. In regards to how big it is, but yeah, I've got I think I've got them coming back.
Okay. All right. That should be it, right? 3 topics. We should be done there.
That's it. Next, we're going to book a wrestler.
All right. Let's move on, shall we? And our next segment is called Book a Wrestler. So this is when we take a wrestler and we book him into maybe something completely different or maybe something similar to what they were before. But you guys can play along. Book a wrestler.
We ready?
Who are we booking this week?
All right, here we go.
Very interesting because this man's name was being talked about quite a bit on the with Bound for Glory, and everybody saying that he was going to be there, and they saw him taking planes to Vegas and all this other stuff, and then people got down and disappointed when he didn't show up. When you read the news, if you did happen to read the news, he did indeed meet with Scott D'Amore, but apparently nothing happened or nothing came of it, at least not yet. And if you read Braun's tweets, he had kind of said that, listen, he does not maybe want to be full-time anymore, doesn't want to do it all the time. And so he's kind of booked himself into some smaller shows before the end of the year. And one of those tweets is interesting because it said, this may be the only show I do for the rest of the year, was what his comments. And that's the show where he's going to be, and Bo Dallas is going to be, and Eric Redbeard is going to be. So, yeah. So, all right. Yeah, we're gonna book. Of course, he's Titan now. So we're going to book Titan. How would you book him? Tazzy, start it out. What would you do, or how would you book Titan? You could do it however you want to. Do it if you want to just do it as a wrestler, where you'd like to see him go, whatever you want to do.
I might be a homer for this one, but I would have him start small. Like, go somewhere that nobody wouldn't believe he will go, and I would have him go against Fatu and MLW. Just like come out of the blue and like, hey, you're not the best wrestler, blah blah blah, and you come in there and like, and you can have to have him go against one of the best wrestlers that's there. I'm totally down for that, and he don't have to like beat him, but he can like you can start up and then he can wrestle the other guys who's there. It's Hammerstone. That'd be a good match.
Say Hammerstone, man. Him and Hammerstone. Give me that.
I'm totally down for that. So yeah, I have him. I have him go in MLW and do some things there.
Okay. All right. Jeff, what do you think, man?
All right. So honestly, I didn't even really think about the promotion, and the reason why I didn't think about the promotion is because I think I think Adam shouldn't be tied to one promotion.
Mhm.
I would have him as the almost like the industry killer. I'd have him go from place to place and just be a beast. Don't worry about a title. Don't worry about a program. Just have him come in and just dominate people. Just dominate. Have him be a destructive force. Um, the closest thing that I would say that I like, but I would like them to be built even stronger, is what Impact has done with Morrissey. I'd love to see something like that for him. But I'd like for him just to go places and just destroy people. Like, just if you want to bring him in for a one-off in Impact and have him and Morrissey go up against each other, I'd be okay with that. Have him go to New Japan. I'd be okay with that. Have him show up at a bunch of indie shows and just destroy people. I mean, I can think right now, being a former indie guy myself, having a guy like Adam come in and just destroy people. Have him go to GCW and take everybody's best like hardcore shots and no sell the crap out of it, and have that oh crap moment, and just have them destroy him and beat the heck out of him. That's what I would do with him. I mean, I would not have him tied to, oh God, him against Lance Archer. Yes, that would be amazing. I would just have him show up places and just destroy. Like, just destroy. Because you know what? Doggone it, he deserves it. He's earned it. If you listen to this guy's story, it's deeper than wrestling. This guy's been through hell. He's been to hell and back.
Yep.
So I want to see him have control of his narrative, hint, hint, wink, wink, and go wherever he wants to go and own that, and just be a destructive force.
And so people don't think all we do is complain and bitch and moan about AEW, which we do not. I would say, so how Jericho and MJF did their little thing, and they kind of brought other outsider people into that feud as trials for Jericho. You could think up a storyline of something like that if you want to bring this guy in. And look, he's made it clear that, you know, he thinks he might be past being full-time wrestler. And he said that I may not, you know, I'm, and that could be why Impact didn't. And I said that on Bound for Glory. That could be why they didn't sign him, because when they bring people in, they're bringing people in that have to go and do all those tapings, and they have to be there for weeks on end. You know, we heard Josh talk about that, where they're there for a long time, and he just may have not had that in mind. He may have not wanted to do that. So, you know, something like that with the whole trials with Jericho and stuff like that. Not saying they'll do that again, but something similar to that. And it's similar to what Jeff was saying too, where you just bring him in to do something like that and show up. Maybe he has a match or two here or there. The only one thing I will say about him is please don't bring him in as comic relief. I think we've seen that go the opposite side. Now he can do that, but the fact that he just did this whole narrative thing and everything like that to kind of just change himself, I kind of think that he probably wouldn't want to go back to that again. Yeah, I could see him being brought into almost really any of the indies. It was like, you know, New Japan, MLW, you know, coming into Impact maybe and working with them a little bit. I can almost see he's a kind of guy who, listen, he's a big dude. He went and reshaped himself. I mean, you could see how cut he is as opposed to, you know, look at the two pictures on the screen. I mean, So he's done some amazing work with his body. He looks different now, and so you can really bring this guy into anywhere. And if he doesn't want to work full time anymore, cool. Someone in the chat said have him go and work with Bray in movies. I don't know. Maybe he wants to do that. It doesn't always necessarily have to be that they want to continue wrestling, and maybe they don't. These guys got a taste of acting with the cinematic matches, and the swamp fight and everything like that. They had to be acted. They had to do that for 8 hours a day, or however long it took them to do that. So, yeah, I think I agree with both Tazzy and Jeff. He can come in and pretty much do almost anything, and I whatever he wants to do ultimately is great, but I can certainly see him doing it in that capacity where he just comes in, like Jeff was kind of saying, he's like a hitman, basically. Just comes in and you bring him in out of the blue as kind of a surprise, and maybe maybe he shows up the next week, maybe he doesn't, and so be a little bit different in that respect. But yeah, that's basically how I would book him as well. Jeff could also have him as a problem solver, if you get what I mean. If a company got a problem with a star, bring in Titan to destroy them. Yeah, it'd be cool. Makes sense because you can have Adam with Scott D'Amore with Moose controlling and can't stop. Braun in AAA versus either Hessman or Pagano would be a bloodbath. Bodyguard or Force for Scott D'Amore. I like that one. Yeah. Listen, I think he can come in and do well in whatever he chooses to do, and who knows, maybe again, maybe he's kind of dwindling on the wrestling thing, and maybe he just doesn't want to throw his body around to do that kind of stuff anymore. No choo-choo train. Yes, I agree. Yes, I think we could all agree on no choo-choo train. All right, so there is our Book a Wrestler segment. What do we got up next, Jeff?
All right, so now we get to go into the favorite moments of the week.
Yeah, this is a cool part. Shout them out, guys. What were your favorite moments of this past week in wrestling? Let us know. Let us know. You can tell us 3. You can tell us how many ever you have. But let us know in the chat what your favorite moments of wrestling were in this past week. So, number 3 on your top 3. I'll start with Jeff. Go ahead, man. What was your number 3 of this past week favorite moment?
Man, my number 3 of the week was the match between Josh Alexander and Christian, where Josh won. I thought that was a heck of a match. Great storytelling. Man, I think Eric Travis has me kind of laughing real quick because he's talking about book a live streamer. Conrad should be next week.
Book a live streamer. Nice.
Yeah, so that's my number 3. That match, and then Josh getting that very brief moment. Josh and Christian, but getting that brief moment at the end where Josh was able to raise up that championship. So that's my number 3.
All right, Tazzy, number 3.
Number 3 for me is Bound for Glory. That pay-per-view was amazing. Loved the and we had within since last Saturday and to Friday, we had some great shows. We had some great shows in wrestling. So shout out to wrestling in general. But Bound for Glory, you had you oh my God. I mean, the best moment has to be Josh Alexander, and then I almost said Moose. Moose came at the end. It's like and then Mickey James went. Oh my God! Bound for Glory is my number 3.
Okay, I'm going to go. Let me read a couple people's stuff here. Favorite moment was the moment Bray became free. I'm free. That's a great song by Kenny Loggins from Footloose in the 1980s, by the way. It always goes back to 80s stuff for me. Always, always, always. He and Raquel Gonzalez will start a family and breed the first super soldiers as Big Dan. Josh versus Christian. Josh versus Christian and Boo Moose. Non-compete clause of Windham ends. Can I say inspiration entrance and Impact for Bound for Glory was good. That was awesome. My top 3 are any pay-per-view WWE doesn't put on, says Derek. My number 3 is going to be NXT. Braun Breaker and Ciampa. What a match. What a match. And listen, we criticize a lot, right? People criticize a lot. And when NXT first changed over to the new NXT, everybody kind of was down on it. We liked it the old way. And everybody's going to say that, right? And people were making fun of the lettering and all that kind of stuff. But look, kudos to them and Shawn Michaels, who's been running it because Triple H has been out. But kudos to Shawn Michaels because what they did, and don't tell me that while you were watching that match, that you didn't start to think that they were going to put that title right on Braun Breaker. Don't tell me you weren't. Don't tell me you weren't, because that's what people do is like, oh, here we go. They're going to give it to the new guy already. It's going to be stupid. No. But what they did is they really built, they used the match to build him to the moon. And listen, look at all of the Impact moves he took to pin him. So he is their future, no doubt. Ciampa still won. So they did it the right way. And kudos to Shawn Michaels for setting that up and doing it that way. And it was a fantastic, fantastic match. So that's my number 3. Jeff, number 2.
Number 2. I actually have a tie for number 2.
Okay.
Because people say I hate AEW. Honestly, though, Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson, what a match. What a fun match. It was so good, so violent. I love it. And then when your chest looks like hamburger meat afterwards. And then number 2 for me, the part B to this was Mickie James. Mickie James. And that's a good point too, Jesse. It's been over a week, but yeah, Crown Jewel was awesome. But yeah, Mickie James winning the title, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So those are my 2 at number 2.
I'm going to go for a bit of a tie at number 2 as well. And one of mine made its way on the rounds out on the Twitter machine because it wasn't seen on the show. After SmackDown in Wilkes-Barre, shout out to Wilkes-Barre, everybody thought Roman didn't show up. It's such a small little town. They don't care about it. Roman was indeed there. And they had a match after the show was over. And not only did they have a match, but they had Roman tag in Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman got tagged into the match. Paul Heyman immediately goes up into the ring. He's all fired up, right? He's looking out at the crowd. He's saying, yeah, I'm going to. And he goes and he trips over the bottom rope. He falls into the ring. And then he proceeds to get beat up and get tossed out of the ring. So it was a really cool moment. And this is the kind of stuff we don't see. And Roman had this big, he couldn't help but laugh. He's just up there cracking up laughing on the ring apron. And it was just a really, really fun moment for that crowd. And I knew people who went. I didn't go to the show, but I know people who went to the show and they said they absolutely loved it. And they said that they gave him a standing ovation after it was over. Also, props to the Wilkes-Barre crowd as well for the We Want Wyatt chants. I don't know if you guys heard them, but they were certainly doing it during that Halloween match that they had. And they were loud, louder than you heard on TV. I could hear it at the start, but they were doing it throughout the entire match. So they got cut. but they were extremely loud. And a friend of mine said to me, you could not hear anything over that deafening chant that they were doing. So 2 cool moments coming from a local show that they had right near where I was. So, and my second, that was the tie-in. So that was the one thing. My second one, if you would have ever told me that I would see the Demon, the Kiss Demon, back in wrestling after all of these years. And it's funny because people messaged me about it. Big Dan, I think, messaged me. I had a couple other people message me and say, like, the look on your face was priceless when you saw him walk out on stage. That's the fan in me. And listen, when you could be watching wrestling for all these years and at 52 years old, still mark out over a moment like that, when other people would have thought, oh my God, like, who the hell is this dude? Why is Torborg coming back? This is the stupidest thing. Listen, I loved it. And it was so cool to see. And the only thing that would have made it better was if they played God of Thunder for him, like they did when he used to come up. And obviously, he probably didn't get the rights from it from Kiss, obviously, because there's no way Impact probably could have afforded it. But yeah, that was amazing. I have it as my background on Twitter, and I'll probably keep it as my background on Twitter for quite a while. But seeing the Demon back after all of these years in 2021 was really, really cool. So, all right, Tazzy, go ahead, man.
Number 2, you guys ready for this one? Number 2, and I can't believe I'm saying this. Mandy Rose wins the NXT championship on Tuesday. If you would have told me a year ago that Mandy Rose would be your NXT champion, remind you, as a Burnett, I would be like, I'm looking at you like you're crazy. Shout out to Mandy Rose going back down and refreshing her character up, basically what Finn Balor did. And it was great because now there's a domino effect. Now, I'll talk about the other part later because that's going to be my number 1. But Raquel Gonzalez is now free to go up to the main roster if she wants to. And fun fact, she was in a dark match on Friday. Just a heads up, just saying. That is my number 2. Is Mandy Rose is your new NXT champion.
There you go. All right. It is time for number 1. So what was your number 1 big event or big happening in wrestling for this past week? All right. I'll start this time with Tazzy. I'll go right back to you. Number 1 moment in wrestling of the past week.
I have a tie. So the first one is Halloween Havoc. Halloween Havoc was a good... Yes, I'm being a homer. Ha ha. Halloween Havoc, it basically shows the new talent. So remember I told you about Mandy Rose? Now think about the 2 new tag team champions. Guess what? Guess who's free now to go to the main roster also? Io Shirai. So that's a possibility. They might keep her down there. You don't know. We saw the Usos brother, which was awesome because he looked just like his brothers. New tag team champions. Imperium is now your tag team champions again, which I'm sorry, MSK, but sometimes you got to lose the title to get the title back, right? So shout outs to them. Yeah, it was great. Halloween Havoc was great. We got a little haunted house. That was awesome. Not crazier than it was last year, but it still was crazy. Yeah, I like the pay-per-view. The champ and breaker match was awesome. Like Joe said, it was awesome. I can't wait to see what it was like we were talking about earlier. We thought when I'll tell you just now for doing NXT, I was scared. I was scared when it was like, oh, what the heck is these colors? What's going on? Not that. And I'm looking at it now like, well done. Well done. I guess you could tell that you can tell Vince is around, but you can also tell who's running the show. It's not Vince. It's the people that's been doing NXT. So shout out to them. And the other one is Moose, the promo.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That promo was ridiculous. He named everybody. AW, the women, I could go on. The New Day, he did it all. I was like, well done to actually. If you're gonna put somebody over as a champion, that's just probably put him over also because his mic skills is underrated. By the way, it's very underrated. And shout outs to Moose. And yes, I'm looking forward to seeing what else he does. Yes, that's my two number ones.
All right. Well, let's see. I may have a couple out there too. So my first one I'm going to go with, I think I might have an A, B, and C. My first one I'm going to go with is Xavier Woods winning the King of the and I know that wasn't from this past week, but we saw his coronation. So all of the moments that you're seeing from him, you could see that he genuinely is thrilled to have won it. And the fact that he kind of knighted Kofi as well was kind of it's just a cool moment. And there's a lot of people that are talking about it on social media and stuff like that, and they're saying that they're very, very happy for him. So that's one of them. Let's see. My second one, the Moose promo. Yeah. And Tazzy pretty much already described it. Listen, when a guy comes out from Impact Wrestling and calls out Roman Reigns, I don't care what tribe you're a chief of, and calls out, I don't care if you're elite. Listen, he wasn't mincing any words. He was going after everybody, and it just didn't matter. He was getting all that kind of stuff off his chest and just coming out and just telling everybody what he thought, and it was coming from the heart. So yeah, that was my number two. And my number one, I said one A, B, and C, so that was C and B, and my 1A is of course Mickie James winning the title. Again, sometimes when wrestlers' careers are winding down, and you see them get released, you start to wonder, well, is that the last I'm ever going to see of that person, let alone them winning a title? And then when I heard she was back, she was over in NWA and she was organizing Empower and all that kind of stuff, I thought, okay. But again, it was such a shock that I did not see it coming whatsoever. And when she won, it was just a fantastic moment. And I'm sure it was a fantastic moment for her. And probably a lot of women in the back room were probably celebrating with her as well. So, yeah, Mickie James, definitely number one for me. All right, Jeff, you're up.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet and to the point. Moose, for me, number one. That promo was absolute fire.
Yep.
That's what happens when you allow a guy to do that when he's put in the years that Moose has, and he's achieved what he has over the last year plus. The run that he's been on individually over the last year plus has been incredible. Starting with all the stuff with EC3 last year and really culminating. I mean, think about that. And I know someone, I want to give credit. I know someone said this in the chat earlier. I want to say it was 205 ATL. But think about it. Last year, we got the cinematic match with him and EC3.
Yep.
And that was where we saw that change happen. And to culminate that at Bound for Glory with the win, especially in the way that he's done it, says a lot about the story that they've built with Moose. Because before, you could argue that Moose was the type of guy that he wanted to beat you face up and just beat the crap out of you. Now he's controlling what he wants to do. And he's like, listen, if I want to come out and beat the crap out of you now, I'll do it now. And here's the other thing that I want people to understand: the savagery of what happened in that promo. He kicked Eddie Edwards behind, and then he got in the ring and did the promo.
That's true.
It wasn't like it wasn't like he cut the promo and then Eddie Edwards came out. No, Eddie Edwards came out, interrupted him. Eddie Edwards got that smoke, and then Moose came in and cut that promo. So, Moose, dude, I rock with you. And the last thing I got one last thing I want to say about Moose. Wrestling fans, if you don't have the balls to say something to someone's face, don't tweet it at them and don't send them a DM. Mm-hmm. Half of the people who had something negative to say to Moose, calling him all kinds of racial slurs, doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad that he called you out on Twitter. I'm glad that he called you out. And let me go ahead and say this. You better be glad that you can hide behind your keyboard, because if Moose were walking down the street and you were too, I guarantee you'd crap your pants as opposed to trying to say something to him. Like you said, yeah, I know this is my bonus grievance. I'm sorry. But you wouldn't say it. You wouldn't say it to him in his face. So don't hide behind the keyboard. If you got something to say it to his face. But we know the real deal. You don't have the equipment to do that. So don't pretend behind your keyboard with your Twitter fingers.
Yes, sir.
In trouble.
Yes. All right. Well, there you go. There are moments of the week. We shouted out some of yours, and we hope you got a little reminisce of this past week in wrestling. So, and as you can see, you can always pick out at least 3 things that you enjoy from different things over the course of the week. So, good stuff. All right. What's up next?
We got the lighter side of wrestling, Joe. So this is a good opportunity for Jesse to kind of tune up the band, and we've got a group that we want to talk about. While she kind of warms up, and while C Wrestling warms up, if he's still here.
Yeah, it's been a little while. Jesse, I hope you have some Halloween-related jokes. And C, of course, will be up in the balcony, I'm sure, as well. I'm sure he's probably getting to the point where he might be falling asleep, but I'm sure he'll be there to get out some criticism. So get ready. Yeah, the learning tree. This is really booked well and really funny stuff. I mean, they bring a guy like Zicky Dice, who, again, a small little shameless plug, but we interviewed him as well. Good story that he had. And it's just great to see him back. By the way, you people on that come out to watch Impact that don't want to pay for Impact Wrestling, Zicky is doing it now too, oh my God, Havoc, like Havoc used to do. So you have another means of doing it without having to pay. So you can go and check out the show with Zicky. So, but yeah, this is really good stuff. And now we're starting to get people fired and people let go. And then we saw the turn on Sam Beal, and so you know where this is going. And it's just all going to blow up in Brian Myers' face. And Sam Beal is going to probably be the first one to come back and get him. I mean, you're seeing it forming where you're seeing factions now forming. But eventually Myers is going to be the one that's going to get all the crap that's going to come back to him. So this is just good stuff. Like I said, we say this from week to week. Impact knows how to do promos. They really do. And other companies can take lessons from them. Will they ever? Probably not, because they don't like to admit that they can't do something as well as someone else, especially a smaller company. But they can take lessons from them, especially in the comedy department. Between, the things that we've seen over the last 2 years, Swingers Palace, the Who Shot Bravo. Oops, we don't want to talk about that too much. And, Wrestle House, that kind of thing. Poor Poor Taya. Anyway, yeah, they just know how to do this kind of stuff, and this is no different. It's an ongoing thing. It gets wrestlers into situations where they may be not getting into much. I mean, you know, Zicky's there. He hasn't really been in the ring much, but you know, he's able to get TV time every single week by doing this stuff. So it's great stuff, man. I love it. Oh, and by the way, real quick, because we talk about him on this segment a lot. Shout out to R-Truth. I sent this to Jeff, and I don't know if you guys all saw it. He put out a rap song that is amazing. It's amazing. The video itself is killer, and I sent it to him from Insiders. He liked the post, and then he retweeted it, I believe. So, dude, R-Truth is a talented dude. I mean, he came out. Somebody came out and said, dude, Randy Orton came out and said, you know, you're getting right up there with The Rock, my man. And I'm like, holy cow, dude, that's a hell of a compliment. But if you guys haven't seen that, go check that out. It was amazing, and I love the video. So check that out if you haven't done that. Go ahead, guys. Talk about the learning tree while Jesse gets all set to go.
I just like it. I just that's what Impact does. They have these little days in the backstage area where it's like, you know, it's gold. I mean, Swinger Palace, Wrestle House. I mean, I could go on, but it's I think this is Impact. This is what Impact does the best. Just saying.
Good stuff. Go ahead, Jeff.
I love these guys. I love comedy and wrestling. I always have, and you know, again, you can just tell that Brian Myers is just going to get his behind, and then he'll be able to sit back and say after he's taken a butt whooping from his learning tree, you know, I taught these guys very well. I taught them everything they know. You can just hear it now. You can hear him cutting that promo. So yeah, I love it. And apparently Jesse has 6. So,
all right, Jesse, you are all set. Listen, first of all, while Jesse's getting ready to go, appreciate you guys coming out tonight. We've been on for a long time. We started at 8:30. We've been on almost 3 hours. So appreciate you hanging with us. We know it's late, especially those people that have hung in from overseas and stuff like that. But we hope you enjoyed the show. We don't get to do this nearly as often as we would like. This is kind of where it all stemmed from with us. We started with this and weren't really doing watch-alongs at the very beginning. So it's always cool when we can get out here and we could talk to you guys like this. Hope you enjoyed the little Halloween segment at the beginning. And again, thank you for coming out. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. We would really appreciate that. And also make sure that you put up a like on the stream for us tonight before you head out. And if you would, hit the notification button too, so that you get notified about when we have content, which, by the way, will be tomorrow. Jeff, I believe, is Abby's tomorrow?
I'm waiting to hear back from Jody. I know she still hasn't been feeling well, so if we are back, we may be back at 6, but just stay tuned to our social media, and we might even post something in the community tab on YouTube as well, just to let everyone know.
All right, cool. Well, there you go. So we'll let you guys know what's going on with Abby's tomorrow. So Abby's would be the only thing we've got for tomorrow. So for some reason, Abby's is canceled because Jody's been dealing with all this stuff with the kidney stones and everything like that. So that's no picnic at all for anyone. So if for some reason we are not on, we will let you know via social media. And then next time we'll see you will be for Impact Wrestling on Thursday. So, okay. Jesse, we are ready to go. 6 regulars plus 3 Halloween. Wow, she has 9. 9. Take that, C. What happens when a vampire goes in the snow? Frostbite. Nice. Look at C, Jeff, end the effing stream. Just end it, bro. Come on. 9.
I gotta show you since it's been a while. We've got to put this back out there. So.
Oh God. All right, here we go. Number 1, Halloween. What did one ghost say to the other? Do you believe in people? Okay. All right. All righty. Very good. We got a Halloween one to start. Here, I could just wait. The comments are just coming. You just know it's just boiling over right now for C Wrestling. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. Oh my gosh. Just end the effing stream. Halloween edition number 2. What is a vampire's favorite sport? Casket ball. Casket ball.
That'll be rolling.
C Wrestling said that was a totally dead joke, Jesse.
Oh man,
Totally dead joke. Now we got bloodsucker joke. Leeching like you leech stealing these jokes from Google. Oh man. Halloween edition number 3. What do you call witches that live together? Broommates. Oh, that was clever. Clever. There's some clever ones. All right. Okay. The regular ones are coming up now. Big Dan's getting into the act. What do you give Godzilla when he has diarrhea? Plenty of room. Oh, what did Dracula say when the witch and the warlock started kissing? Get a broom. That deserves some drum rolls on that one. Isn't Halloween meant to be scary, not boring, Jesse? Oh,
Wow.
oh man. Oh,
I gotta go back.
Oh. Man, we're getting, yep, you're getting it. You're getting it. Oh, gosh. It's been a long time. Conrad's laughing. All right, Jesse, what do you got next? I think Jesse's been floored by C. James Chadwick says that C wrestling with a. Oh. Come on, Jesse. We're waiting patiently. There we go. There we go. Boom, boom. Dude told me after my wife died, I couldn't even look at another woman for 10 years. But now that I'm out of jail, I can honestly say it was worth it. That's good. I like that one. That was a good one. That was a good one. Good. That was a good one. Liked it. All right. Today was a bad day. There was a man throwing butter and cheese at me. How dare he? All right, we're getting better now. We're getting better. Last two are good. We're getting better. C said, you had a phone in prison, Jesse, because you've been online regularly. No wonder you smell of fish. That's why the fish is up on the screen. Number 3. There's a movie about constipation. It hasn't come out yet. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. That was good. That's probably the best one yet. That was probably the best one so far. Oh man. I think we got 3 more. I think we got 3 more. Here we go. Number 4. Did you hear about the Pillsbury Doughboy? He died of a yeast infection.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, God. Draven trying to get in the act, too. You guys know that C was in the 9th episode of the Eccleston Doctor Who series? He wants his mummy. Here comes number 5. If drinking alcohol makes you an alcoholic, does drinking Fanta make you fantastic? Jesse is a hater. LOL. He's a hater. I think we got one more. Where is it? Oh, it would have been so good if it came right out then. Oh. C says, try it, Jesse. Your jokes definitely need that Fanta. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Number 6. New Teslas don't come with a new car smell. They come with an Elon Musk. That was good. That was clever. That was very clever. Oh my gosh! Wow. It's really funny how this It's really funny how this has evolved because we've almost turned it into our own Muppet show at the very end of the show, which is hey, it brings back memories for me. Waldorf and Statler over in the corner heckling all the crap out of all the Muppets, and C is now doing it to Jesse. So hey, there you go. Better than a fishy smell, I guess, says C. God. Oh my God. All right, guys, that is it. It is a minute to 11:30, and we got to get out of here because some of us at work tomorrow morning. I have an early meeting I need to get up for. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming out and celebrating Halloween with us. We really appreciate it. Hope you really enjoyed the show. Thank you for staying out with us and staying up with us, and thanks for joining. We really, really appreciate that you all came out. And again, like I said, I hope you enjoyed it all. Again, we will we'll get you word about tomorrow with Abby's, and if for some reason we don't have it, then our next show will be on Thursday night for Impact Wrestling. Tell them what you got coming up, Pazzy, and we will hit the road.
We are about to go to a full week of streams now. Tuesday. Oh, that's perfect. You're the man, Jeff. I short it right now. Tuesday, NXT 2.0 Watch Alone Party, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you're there. This is the aftermath for Halloween Havoc, so make sure you guys are there. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday, MLW, this is the premiere. MLW Watch Along Party, 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have not watched MLW daily, so I need you guys there to help me out, have some fun with me for a new promotion that we're actually watching. Thursday, once again, we are back to NXT UK Watch Along Party. Shout out to everybody that was there last week. We had a lot of fun. 2:45 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday. And Friday, don't forget the Wrestling Underground Party. The Uncensored Wrestling Underground Party is at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you're there. Make sure you subscribe because we're going to have fun this week. I'm just saying.
All right, there you go. Full plate for Tazzy. Make sure you guys subscribe to Tazzy's channel if you haven't already, and also make sure you subscribe to some of our friends out there too. Of course, Everything Pro Wrestling, Conrad, who's in the channel. See Wrestling, if you're not already subscribed to him, I'm sure you are. Jesse has a channel as well you could subscribe to. And we have other people out there too. Marie Shadows as well, who's a friend of ours. Make sure you check out her channel also. So that is it, guys. We will say adieu for Halloween and good night. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. And hopefully we will see you all for our next stream, whether that's tomorrow at Abby's or whether that is on Thursday for Impact Wrestling. So from Tazzy and from Jeff and myself, hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. Be kind to everyone. Be kind to each other. And hopefully we will see you all soon. Good night, everybody.